Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott, and we are here to talk all things Night of Champions. That's right, it's the build-up show. And you know what we do here? We get you hyped up, we get us hyped up and in the mood for the big PLE. Tonight, it is, well, I say tonight, it's very much daylight out there at the moment. And in the UK, the show is going to be starting at 6 p.m. So, leaning into the night at least. But I'm sure it'll be pretty bright out still for us, so that's going to be quite surreal. But hey, we're going to break down the card. We're going to talk all things Night of Champions. We're also going to, of course, talk about the recent goings on in and around WWE as well, and all the big storylines there. So what we'll do is we'll throw it over to our intro, and we'll be back right after this.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, and the action, as I say, as always, is right here with the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, and a lot of exciting action to talk about today as far as Night of Champions go. Of course, coming to you from Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. We are going to take you right up until when the show starts, so this is going to be pretty much a 3-hour show. We're also going to have some replay footage from last night's kickoff. As I'm sure some of you are aware, we do our weekend kickoffs as well, and a lot of great things discussed on there, especially with Lucas, which I really want to kind of give you the opportunity to check out before Night of Champions begins as well. Then I'll be back live, and we'll be talking all things Night of Champions card. Speaking of which, let's break down the card quickly. Let's go into some of the big highlights and big stories that could be coming out of Night of Champions. We got Jacob Fatu, of course, facing off against Solo Sikoa. That, of course, is for the United States Championship. Night of Champions, not many title matches on this one, which, again, myself and Lucas dive into a little bit further in the stream that you're going to be seeing a replay of very soon. But that is one of the matches we are going to see, Jacob versus Solo. Interesting match to put on the card because I think it's one that could bring a few surprises. We could get some sort of returns, which I do want to touch in on a little bit more detail later on. So get your comments in, guys. Let me know what you're looking forward to and what rumors you're hearing last minute about this show as well. Now, moving away from the championship theme straight away, because again, there's only 2 title matches. We now focus on Sami Zayn facing Karrion Kross. Now, not a title match, but still a match that I'm very much looking forward to. And again, Lucas has got some interesting points about this one, and I can't wait for you to see what they are in just a little bit of time. But really excited to see Sami Zayn at the Saudi shows. Once again, he always gets a great reception. But on top of that, even more excited, though, to see Karrion Kross get featured in not just a PLE match, but a match, right? It's good to see him get featured on the card. And yeah, it's a storyline that's been brewing in the background, which I'm really intrigued by. And I'm intrigued to see where it goes on both sides, whether it continues for both of them together or it kind of sets something up for both of them separately. I think there's a lot to talk about when it comes to Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross. Then, of course, we've got the Night of Champions theme, but they are also leaning into crowning people here. We've got the Queen of the Ring finals. Of course, we saw quite a good bracket leading towards this event for the Queen of the Ring tournament. But as you can see, Jade Cargill and Asuka are the 2 finalists. And it's going to be an interesting one to see what decision they make here as far as where they go with both characters. I mean, Asuka's only just come back from injury, so it'd be nice for her to get something. But I've got a feeling it's all about making Jade look good because she is the star of the future, right? So when you put them 2 together, we were talking on last night's stream about Asuka being 43 years old, still doing incredible things, but she's not exactly the future, right? So these crowning moments tend to come for younger superstars, and it looks like that might be the case here. But saying that, the King of the Ring really throws a spanner in the works because Cody's not a spring chicken himself. He's been around for a while, don't get me wrong. He's not an old man or anything like that, but he is at the top of his game and he's facing off against his mentor, Randy Orton, of course, someone towards the end of their career now, but still pulling out incredible performances. And I'm really excited to see what this match looks like, how they can deliver. I was saying on last night's stream, I would have preferred a big nasty heel turn from Randy Orton. We might still get that, but I don't think it'd be as impactful if it happens now after already telling us, look, I'll do anything. But yeah, lots to discuss with this one. Again, similar format as far as the bracket goes. They did fatal four-way matches in the end, in the opening stages, went to the semi-finals, and of course, as you can see there, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes is the final we've been set up with. And important to remember that both of these matches as well will lead to a number one contendership, not just a crown on the top of your head, but a target on the back of a superstar, because you get a guaranteed match at SummerSlam against your respective world champion on your brand. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what happens there. What have we got? Sludge Sports is in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Says hello, Scott. Sorry, I've only been really inactive on this channel lately. I've been taking a 2-month vacation to my motherland, Lebanon. I'm still in Lebanon, and I'll be back in Australia in 2 days. I'll also be back chatting here. Great to hear from you, Miss Sludge. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good time in Lebanon, and having a safe trip back to Oz as well. Yeah, no worries. Always nice to see you popping up. And again, we got a lot of guys that we see in the comments now. It's a real kind of community spirit. So whether you're watching live or on demand, or whether you're kind of just lurking in the background, we appreciate you. Sludge, always good to see your name popping up. And again, look, you say you're inactive. Look at our history, buddy. We haven't done much lately either. So my bad as well. But we are here for Night of Champions, and you know how it works, mate. We're trying to get everybody hyped up and in the mood for the big show. If you're new here for the first time, welcome along as well. We'd appreciate if you subscribed. We hit just over 1,000 subscribers a little while ago. We've had a great year, and we hope to continue to bring you more content. Again, a little bit of a slow spell recently, just because of clashing schedules with the people on the channel and stuff like that, but we're back now. And again, we're going to try and bring in some more of our friends of the wrestling media world, and bring you more interviews with the likes of WWE superstars. So look back on our archive for some of those. Speaking of WWE superstars, let's get back to the subject at hand. Of course, the King of the Ring finals we were just talking about there. So let's move on to, again, another non-title match. At least the last two had a crown on the line. This one here, Raquel Rodriguez versus Rhea Ripley in a street fight. Now, I'm looking forward to this because I think it could be well, first of all, good, enjoyable match. They've done some fun things together lately, but also a good moment for Raquel. I do think she, how can I put this? Without, I'm not sounding mean. She's not as much of a versatile performer as some of the other women on the roster, but I think she's growing and she's getting better. And I think there are certain matches where you can highlight her positives, really. And I think this is one of them. Working with someone like Rhea, I'm really hoping that they can just kind of have this slugfest and really give us something special out there in Saudi Arabia. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do. If I'm honest, I think Raquel's probably the one to win, because Rhea just wins all the time. We don't always need it, right? As much as a Rhea fan I am, go check out our interview with Rhea Ripley on this channel, by the way. Lovely woman. But I do think it is more beneficial at this moment of stage, at least, to give the win to Raquel. And of course, we're going into Evolution soon, so be interested to see how a lot of these kind of women's matches going on around in the this show, but also Raw and SmackDown and stuff like that, how that will lead into Evolution. Talking of Evolution, we look here at great examples of how this company has moved on. But yeah, clawing back the glory days of John Cena and CM Punk, it would seem. Look, I'm excited for this match because I just don't know what they're going to do. If I'm honest, I think it's probably going to be Cena winning, right? Because I don't think they're taking the title off him just yet. But the thought of CM Punk winning the title against John Cena, man, I feel like I'm back in 2011. Not to say 2011 was the greatest period in WWE history. Don't get me wrong, but the shining light was CM Punk's kind of, the pipe bomb and all that came of it. And John Cena played up to that in that storyline and played up to it quite a lot. Recently, of course, dropped his own pipe bomb, and also CM Punk. If you haven't seen SmackDown, guys, CM Punk came out as a doctor of ergonomics, Cena, just like Cena used to be, and did a bit of Punk life instead of word life, and did quite an interesting rap for the fans out there in Riyadh, and Cena looked bewildered. Now, speaking of which, we are going to throw it over to my reaction from that clip last night as well in just a few moments, and then you'll also see myself and Lucas breaking down the card in further detail as well. So keep your comments coming, guys. The live portion of the show will be back later on, but for now we are going to throw it over in just a moment at least to our replay from last night's original kickoff stream, where we break down the card in detail and talk about all the latest news going into this weekend. And again, once this is over, I'll be back here live and in living color, and we'll break down the card even further and all the kind of real up to date latest rumors as well. So keep your comments coming. I'll be lurking in the background. I'll be replying to some of you as well, and we'll read out the best ones when we come back on live in just a moment. So let's throw it over to last night's stream again here. First of all, it's going to be me reacting to CM Punk's rap. Then it's going to be us reviewing a bit of the Go Home SmackDown, and then we'll be breaking down the card in further detail as well. So without further ado, let me just get this ready to line up. And here we go. Here goes me from yesterday. All right, guys, we're live on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel here to cover a big weekend in wrestling. But right now, SmackDown is still on, so we are instant reactioning to Punk Life. I can't believe what I'm seeing. CM Punk is walking to the ring in Saudi Arabia, dressed as Thugonomics John Cena. I'm Scott, by the way. Welcome to the Rebellious Pro Wrestling channel. Like I say, we're here to get you hyped up and in the mood for the big PLE this weekend. Of course, SmackDown is live in Saudi Arabia tonight as well. And it's been an interesting night. There was huge technical issues earlier on. So it meant the show was actually, I guess, kind of delayed. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But as I say, we'll give a little bit of a live reaction to what we're seeing right here on WWE program at the moment on Netflix. Of course, in the US, it's a few hours away from airing officially on the USA Network, but global viewers, now that the issues are over, can actually see what's going on. You've got a Punk Life graphic. CM Punk is in a Cubs jersey and also in a Bulls hat, and he looks the part. I mean, he said on the kickoff show that WWE did that he had something special for tonight. And I thought, oh, is it going to be like another pipe bomb thing? What the heck? I never expect to see something like this from Punk, but I love it. And CM Punk, I mean, Cena, I should say, looks so confused. This is so. Is he going to rap? This is crazy. We'll get into the weekend's festivities in a bit more detail soon, guys. But thanks for tuning in. Kim wants Roman. You never know. Might get Roman showing up at Night of Champions, but what's going on here? Aha! This clown plagiarized my pipe bomb, so I'm now still in world life, says Punk. Woo-hoo-hoo. I can't believe what I'm watching. Oh, Punk's in a scene has buried more talent than the Undertaker. Interesting. Interesting. Oh, Nikki Bella dig there. Oof. Stumbled a little bit there, but good point about Batista. Oh, more problematic than Hogan. I don't know about that these days, but ain't got many very much love in the wrestling industry these days, but big CM Punk chance. You can't wrestle. Cena looks flabbergasted in his lovely purple outfit. Again, here, guys, if you're just tuning in, we are live at the moment. We're watching the end of SmackDown on Netflix, where, believe it or not, CM Punk is the new Doctor of Thugonomics, it would seem. Whoa! He's a superhero now. He works at DC, but no matter how much you try, you'll always be the Marine to me. Nice. Mm. I give Punk credit. Like, this is a lot for him to remember. I mean, he's great at promos anyway, the way it works, but to remember the rap and the rhyme 14 years ago today, was it? Pipe bomb. This is so strange. Big CM Punk chance now as well. Cena does not look happy. Tomorrow you're gonna lose to Kendrick because you're my Drake, basically. Oh, he did the "You Can't See Me" in the Word Life. Well, there he goes. As the fans sing along to Cult of Personality, a little bit more familiar for Punk there, but yeah, we see CM Punk break out the legendary gimmick of John Cena, the Doctor of Thugonomics. And I've seen Cena come back as Doctor of Thugonomics in MetLife, but I never thought and I was, live there for it. I'm not live there for this, obviously. You can tell I'm not in Saudi Arabia, but I still never expected to see CM Punk impersonate John Cena in this way. But I like the way they've done it. I think it's quite clever. They were talking about how last week John Cena did his own pipe bomb. This week, CM Punk copied his stuff by doing his own rap. So yeah, pretty cool. It looks like the show is just about to wrap up here as well. We are still going to be live though, guys. Stay with us. Let us know what you think is going to happen at Night of Champions. What you think of tonight's SmackDown as well. You are watching live on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, and we are also going to be covering the show in depth on our build-up show, of course. On the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel on Saturday as well. But for now, I'm going to bring in our first guest in just a moment. It's going to be Lucas, going to be chatting to us and letting us know what he thinks of tonight's SmackDown. Of course, all the kind of stories going into Saturday's Night of Champions as well. It's going to be a big show, a bigger card than usual as well. So looking forward to seeing what Lucas has to say there. It's been a while since we've caught up. So yeah, looking forward to that. And I'm sure you guys viewing are as well. Kim says CM Punk will win. Maybe CM Punk is going to be winning the WWE Championship off of John Cena. I mean, can you believe I'm even saying that in the big year of 2025? But yeah, it is possible. Now, what we're going to do in just a moment, as I say, is we are going to bring in Lucas. So I'm just going to be getting some of that set up in the background. While we do that, let's throw it over to the channel intro to let you know a little bit about what we do here at Rebellious Noise.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, you're here where the action is hot and heavy. Lucas, we've just wrapped up an interesting episode of Friday Night SmackDown. Started with some newsworthy kind of topics as far as the power outage goes, but ended with quite an interesting promo there as well. So, of course, we're going to preview Night of Champions here. But seeing as we've just got done with SmackDown, what are your initial thoughts on SmackDown from Saudi?
Yeah, I thought it was a very good episode of SmackDown. To be fair, tonight, obviously the the half an hour kind of blackout kind of was a bit annoying, but the shows kind of soon got back on track.
Yeah,
I thought it was a very good episode. There's a lot of talent featured, which is quite interesting, including some backstage segments featuring the tag team division, featuring stuff going on with the women's division and stuff between the general managers. What was interesting though, my interesting note though, is that 2 shows in a row now they've done the general manager about to make an announcement regarding the women's tag belts and then get interrupted. And so it begs the question, are they just saving it until next week after the pay-per-view to get this out of the way, or do they genuinely just not know what's going to go on? Because obviously with Liv Morgan injured and just not able to defend the titles at the moment, they have to obviously do something about that. And it seemed that they did tease even the segment with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Like, are they potentially going to become a tag team? On the SmackDown side of things. Yeah, but I thought that, they did a very good job of spotlighting a lot of talent. But it does kind of worry me ahead of next week, though, because next week they're moving back to 2 hours. And, if you kind of look at this episode, all in, you're thinking, there was quite a lot that he featured, and they got onto the show that wouldn't really get on a 2-hour broadcast.
Yeah,
which obviously what they're going to, I don't want to say the word permanently, because they've obviously has 3 hours on Raw and then they brought it down to 2, but it just seemed that for the time being at least that we're moving back to a 2-hour broadcast from next Friday.
Yeah, like you say, they managed to squeeze a lot on here. I'm not a fan of the 3-hour shows. I've said it time and time again, but it was still an enjoyable show. It did drag for me. I wish it was 2 hours. I'm not going to lie, but as you say, there are going to be people that don't get to get featured, and more so when I feel like I like them doing the shows now the day before a PLE when they go to a different country. I do quite like that now. The only thing is it kind of sometimes takes away from that first initial pop and excitement of seeing such and such fan base, in whatever country they are. But it almost feels like a great opener really for the weekend of the PLE. You get a lot of the guys that aren't going to get featured on the PLE and they're kind of giving you PLE level matches. I mean, we saw a Lice Woman standing match here. We saw a Fate cash in. We saw some, heavy hitters as far as like headliners being featured on the show, at least in promo spots. And then again, those who aren't going to get matches on the big PLE itself did have some kind of big moments in storyline progression. You mentioned the tag team situation, very much, threaded and weaved throughout the entire night as well. That's been a division that needs to be on the PLE for the longest time. But overall, I agree, man. I think it was a good SmackDown. We say it a lot, did what it needed to do, got us kind of in the mood for Saturday night, really.
Can I say, I think it might be one of the stronger kind of go-home episodes of television we've had in a while.
Yeah.
The product's been very weird for it lately. Obviously there's a lot of Vince-isms that they wanted to get rid of, I guess. But there's something that I think he always did very well when he was in charge. What was done very, very well was if there's a pay-per-view the next night or the week after, whatever, you would see kind of the main people all featured. And we saw that all tonight. We saw obviously both finalists for the King and Queen of the Ring. They went face to face, had their segments. We saw the main event, obviously Cena and Punk in action. We saw Jake Fatu. Obviously, he'd be defending the US Championship against Solo Sikoa. Obviously we didn't see the Raw side of things. Obviously, got Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez.
Raquel, yeah.
But it generally felt like, oh yeah, there actually is a show tomorrow night. Like,
yeah.
As it actually is like quite an important show. Like, it's been a bit of an odd build to get to this event because we've had matches change. This past week, obviously we're missing an IC Championship match, but tonight I think they restacked it in a really good way. Obviously, the tag situation will be interesting to see where they go from here, because obviously they've done the DQ kind of no contest kind of finish now, the tag belts, but you have to imagine that. You have to imagine that I sense and I smell a steel cage might be coming into play.
Oh yeah,
because obviously all the other tag teams trying to get their hands on, obviously the White Six. Yeah. Usually the way to get around this is to book a steel cage match.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the direction they go into, and perhaps that might even be able to get on a PLE.
Who knows? I mean, we saw a fantastic TLC match a few months back, and it made it. I was at the time thinking, well, does this just prove it should have been on, or is this going to be Okay, well done. You did a great SmackDown segment, and it kind of feels like that it was the latter, which is a shame because I think that match deserved to be in WrestleMania. And a lot of this feud, I think, deserves to be. I say feud; it's kind of a interwoven thing, isn't it? It's been going on for months now with all these tag teams, but I've enjoyed it, and it does. We've had this debate before, but it does make SmackDown and the weekly shows more kind of enjoyable, but at the same time that wears thin when they aren't good enough, it would seem, to be put in a PLE. But again, we've had a few conversations like that in the past, so we won't stick too long on it. What we'll do in a moment is we'll move into Night of Champions properly. We'll kind of predict the card. We'll predict the results through the card and things like that as well. We're going to get to some of these comments here as well. We saw Kim earlier on saying that they think CM Punk will win. Kieran says, I have a feeling that Roman will return at Night of Champions, so we could be seeing that there as well. Scarlett's in the house and says Canelo or Crawford. I've got no one in this, mate, because I haven't been keeping up with it or anything like that. But something I'm a bit more familiar with at the moment is John Cena. So, Cena winning tomorrow, says Scarlett. So we'll see how we go there as well. And Krishna's also in the house saying hi as well. So drop your comments down below, guys. Let us know what you think of SmackDown. Did you enjoy the show? And what you think is going to happen at Night of Champions. Before we do dive into Night of Champions proper, let's go back to that big talking point from the beginning, Lucas. I mean, kind of not much to say, but at the same time, noteworthy, so we should mention it. But basically, about a minute into the broadcast, it felt the whole thing just completely cut out. And they did that looped footage of, we'll be right back. And it played for, I think, 25 minutes. Yeah. Now, apparently, I've seen some footage of it, Orton in the ring, basically yeeting and stuff like that, and they were just kind of killing time like that. Still don't really know what happened with the Cody Orton promo. I'm sure it was the same old stuff they always sort of say when it's a go-home show, and they've got a few to build, but of course that is the King of the Ring finals. We'll be touching on that as far as predictions go very soon. But a very unfortunate thing for WWE to experience, essentially, and they're lucky in some ways because they've got SmackDown again at time of recording at the moment. SmackDown hasn't aired in the US, so they can edit around it. They did go over. They do have that kind of freedom on Netflix to do so, and they can kind of tweak things essentially. But I was really surprised that when they came back on air, which I think was handled really well, by the way, by Barrett and Cole, they just made jokes out of it and whatever else and apologized. I was surprised that they didn't just quickly say, that opening segment is now on WWE's YouTube. You can watch it at the end of the show, or something like that. Maybe they will do something like that, and they just didn't get around to it. But what are your thoughts of the way it was handled and kind of just the surreal nature of sitting there for 25 minutes and not knowing what was going on?
I think they could have handled it better. Obviously, they always bang on about the fact they've got such a strong social media following and presence. Could you use any of that just to communicate?
They didn't really say anything until it was about to come back on air. So
one can only imagine that with regards to putting a segment on YouTube, they most likely have a contract with USA Network, who would be a bit annoyed if all of a sudden, a few hours before they're meant to get their premiere of SmackDown.
Yeah, but they can though. They can do it region block. They can just stick it up everywhere but the US. But I know it's a trick. This might make them have a contingency plan going forward, essentially.
Well, what's interesting though is obviously earlier this year they did the whole tour of Europe, and as far as I remember, and I'm sure there might be someone out there who had some sort of issue, but it ran perfectly. We were able to watch SmackDown and Raw from all over Europe, and it's all been fine. And I've genuinely and sometimes just my Wi-Fi maybe. I've generally I can count on one hand how many actual problems I've had with any kind of viewing of the content. On Netflix, it's been a really good experience. So I think fans who are kind of commenting and being a bit angry, a bit annoyed, just remember we have had 6 months of, again, think whatever you want to think about the product, the quality of the product, but in terms of the actual stream and the actual technological ways of going, it's been pretty smooth, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, even going back to that first one, remember everyone was like, how's it going to work? The first live broadcast, because they'd done the Jake Paul, I should say, and Tyson fight. But everybody was kind of, in the dark, essentially, when it came to that first Monday Night Raw, that was, the debut back in January, that it, as you say, could have gone wrong. And 6 months in, the fact that it hasn't and we still don't know what the cause was this time round, but hopefully it's something they can get on top of in future. And I mean, at least it weren't a WrestleMania, right?
Yeah, I think even just at least it wasn't a match as well. I think that obviously, one would imagine they've probably got a 3-hour pre-show tomorrow. They can just replay the segment then tomorrow, I'm guessing.
True.
And then there'll be the promo package and stuff. But obviously, it does feel a bit like it's always a bit annoying, these technical problems, but I guess they did their best to get it back on track.
Yeah.
I think once the show kind of restarted, it was good. And I guess the saving grace for us is that this was happening at 6:30, 7 p.m. UK,
True. Yeah.
not 1 or 2 a.m.
Yeah.
As would usually be the case. But yeah, I'm sure by the time it goes out on USA Network tonight, it will be as if nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
And I think it will just be one of those things that maybe gets put on, gets talked about on podcasts and stuff, and like a little laughing joke for a little bit. But in terms of how they do it going forward, I think they got to remember their main business is producing live events. So I think as long as the live event attendance people were happy, especially them being in Saudi Arabia, as long as people in Saudi Arabia that are paying the millions of dollars for these events, as long as they are happy, I think that will be all that matters. But yeah, let's just pray and hope it doesn't happen during Night of Champions, as that is it seems like a very big deal actually this year, I must admit.
It does. I mean, look, we've been talking off air, haven't we, in the group chat about how frustrating it is that it is Night of Champion as what, 2 title matches. I know they can kind of say, well, you're crowning someone in the King and Queen, and I don't mind that. But yeah, strange what they've done with the card. There's been a few twists and turns with it. It's always interesting when they are booking, it seems, 2 shows at once. This time 3 at once, right? We've got Evolution Saturday night's main event and this coming up pretty much all within a short span of time. And by the way, guys, stay tuned here on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. We'll try and cover all those shows in depth as much as we can. Had a little bit of a hiatus recently. Of course, you would have seen we didn't really do much for the past few PLEs as much as we usually do, just because of other commitments and things like that. But we are back here for Night of Champions, that's for sure. So what we'll do now, we'll dive into that. You are here tuned into the weekend preview. Again, my name is Scott. We're joined by Lucas, and this is the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let's start talking about the show itself. As you say, Lucas, it is a big card. 6 matches this time. Can you believe it, mate? Just shows what happens when you've got that kind of money, right? You get an extra match, I guess. But let's start out with someone we did see feature quite well, I think, on SmackDown, the go-home show at least. Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa, defending, of course, the US Championship here as well. So, yeah, this is going to be one, I think, that could end up telling an interesting story. I don't see, if I'm honest, Solo winning it just yet, but I wouldn't be against him winning it eventually. But I think at the moment it makes more sense to keep it on Jacob Fatu. But again, we saw him on SmackDown make the save for old Big Jim. Interesting that we're still getting this kind of bloodline continuation. But hey, I'm all for it. I'm enjoying the work of everybody involved here. I think Jeff Cobb's not as much of a kind of presence as I would have liked. And I'm surprised they haven't used Tamatonga and Tungaloa lately. I know Tungaloa was injured, but feels a bit strange to me. Don't know where they're going with that, but what they're doing at the moment, I am quite enjoying, and Jacob is just getting over and over and over. So, what are your thoughts on this one, mate? The way it's been built, and ultimately what you think is going to happen tonight, Champions between these 2 cousins?
Yeah, I believe Tamatonga is clear, and they've obviously got, I can't even pronounce the guy's name, Coolio. That one.
Tungaloa?
Not Tongaloa, the one they signed like ages ago, and he only had like a dark match like a week ago.
Oh, right, okay.
What's his name? Hick.
They just keep coming. Oh,
Coolio, Coolio, thingamajig.
Yeah.
He was part of Bullet Club.
Yeah.
And obviously part of the God team. He's the adopted son of Haku. So he's like, well, I don't know, this family. But anyway, they signed him about a year ago. I never used him on television. He had a match on. Her dark match for Raw a couple of weeks back.
Okay.
So they've got kind of things brewing. So it does seem very much like we may be. Someone earlier mentioned about Roman Reigns coming back. I don't know if that will be the case just yet. But I think we are kind of going back to. I think tomorrow we will see a new a person return.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Part of this match.
Yeah, it kind of fits in this story.
Because they've kept it. Because I mean, you got to think like if. They could. I mean, I guess they could do Solo winning, which would be the kind of big surprise. Not surprise, but the big moment from this.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger moment really is them in reintroducing the members. Obviously, now that the dynamic's changed, It's bonkers to think that at one point there was enough Bloodline members to do like 2 War Games matches, almost it felt like. But now we can barely get a tag match out of the feud. But yeah, you have to imagine that Jimmy Uso will probably get involved. Well, I don't see this being clean, and maybe might even throw this one maybe even ending as a DQ type of thing, potentially, because it is hard because how do you pin Jacob Fatu?
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, and I do feel like there will probably. I mean, you've sold me basically that there will be some sort of storyline progression, and we do get a new member or something like that, or an appearance. So I think DQ is the best way to go about doing that, by making Solo look strong, but not taking the title off of Jacob at the same time as well. So, but other than the only other way I see it going at the moment is Jacob winning. So I'm torn between a DQ and Jacob just straight up winning.
Yeah, but I think even if Jacob wins, I think that it will still be down to interference. I can't see it being a clean finish.
Yeah, like Jeff Cobb or JC Mateo gets involved. Big Jim settles the score, level score even. But yeah, and I think that's probably better. Although I know some people get kind of worried about. I mean, I do as well. Too many kind of shenanigans and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, and we did kind of only just get JC Mateo interrupting a little while back anyway. But at the same time, I don't know if a clean pin over Solo's good for Solo. Do you know what I mean? He needs to look credible anyway. I've got to say, really enjoying his work. Like, see, he's funny. Like, I'm still enjoying the stuff he's doing. But I think there's still quite a rebuilding process going on here. So they are kind of at risk with him still. So I think maybe the best case scenario is a crazy DQ ending either way.
Yeah, there's got to be something to it. I think, especially with there being 6 matches as well, you got to argue potentially they might look to book one as more of an angle than a match that makes sense. And it makes sense based on what we know about the Bloodline and how that's gone for it just to be their one. And then obviously they do want to set up, and this program they want to run through, maybe some last minute event or even into SummerSlam. It kind of gives them some legs to do that, and then to extend that to do, if they want to do the title change, potentially do it on SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Particularly, you want it at Mania as well, so it's a bit. I think he's only defended that twice as well. I think, but that's obviously that's all part of the parcel now.
Yeah. So ultimately, I think I will go. No, I don't know, actually. I was going to go Jacob, but then I'm still swayed by the DQ. I mean, we don't have a league table like we used to anymore, so it doesn't matter as much. But I am, if I had to really say, I think there might be maybe not surprises, but noteworthy things happening elsewhere on the card. So I think maybe this will just be a straight up Jacob win. But again, I worry that is damaging to Solo. So, Square, I'm going to go with a DQ finish. Yeah, let's see something exciting happening there. So that, of course, was the Bloodline match from the card. Jacob Fatu, of course, against Solo Sikoa for the US Championship. Next, though, we're going to move on to a match that I think is quite an interesting one to be on this card. I think if it wasn't Night of Champions, it wouldn't be, and that's no disrespect to the two people we're about to talk about, but I think the reason why it's on this card is because it features Sami Zayn. Now, of course, Sami Zayn has close ties really with the Arab world, and of course we saw him on the Kickoff show speaking in Arabic, and he always gets a great reception over there ever since he did start visiting the Saudi shows just a few years back. Something bubbling under the surface, though, is this storyline that's been brewing between him and Karrion Kross, and the great work that Kross has been doing, getting himself over, whether it be on TV or whether it be on talk shows or kind of social media or whatever it may be. He's been really vocal about, the fans helping him get to his position, people believing in what he's doing, and I'm all for it. I'm buying into what he's doing myself. How much of it is planned? How much of it is, kind of smoke and mirrors? I don't know. But ultimately, it's the person who I'm interested in getting featured on the PLE, and I'm happy to see that. A new person being featured on the PLE when it seems to be the same people in the merry-go-round quite often, and Sami Zayn kind of bringing him into that position, it would feel. So I'm looking forward to this match. I think Karrion should win. I think you should really build on what he's kind of been doing already, and it would make no sense really for him to lose. I know the pop that Sami would get would be great, a nice hometown, not hometown feel, what am I saying? But you know what I'm saying, again, in the Arab-speaking world where he's kind of somewhat a representation for the people out there in Saudi as well, because of his own kind of background. But at the same time, you get that by him just being there. And we've had great moments with Sammy in Saudi Arabia already. So I think it's better to put Karrion Kross over. And I actually think that is probably what they're going to do. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, there's two options here that I'm torn between. So option one is my favourite option, and that's the option where I think that, so essentially that promo that he did at WrestleMania, or at WrestleMania weekend, Karrion Kross, I think that was a turning point. And that was a turning point from him going from Karrion Kross and reverting back to Killer Kross. And I think that we need to see Killer Kross. And I'm favouring it. I'm really wanting it to happen because it'll be something which I think will be kind of unprecedented. But I think that this should be a 3-minute match. I think we should absolutely just shock everyone by squashing Sami Zayn. And having that look, because he's Karrion Kross's character skills and the fact he's got Scarlett with him, there's so much layers to what he does. And I think it will shock everyone by if that was the match. And I think that would be a way to make a statement and to say, look, we're actually serious about this guy. You know, we're not doing the typical, oh, he'll win, but it'll be like, you know, distract. You know, nowadays it's always appearance and, you know, this kind of stuff. Like, it's no, we care about this guy. We want to put something behind him. Because the thing is, Sami Zayn, like, he has to be his underdog. And I think there's a longer burn storyline coming with Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
I truly believe that he will be world champion at next year's WrestleMania.
Wow, okay.
I think they're already planting seeds for that, because literally everyone who he goes up against for a promo always mentions he hasn't been world champion. And I think that will just eat. And the WWE Universe, I think, and the fan base are going to get behind it. But anyway, that's for 2026.
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, and again, where is the Royal Rumble in 2026?
Oh, that's a great point. Because I actually was thinking a little while back that maybe Sammy would win the King of the Ring for the same reason. Like, it'd be in Saudi, it'd be a nice pop, and then he'd finally get that match and it'd be at SummerSlam. Obviously, we're going a different direction, clearly, and we'll touch on the King of the Ring a little bit later on. But I completely see where you're coming from with that. So yeah.
That's option one.
Good call.
Option two, which may align closer with what they might do, is Sami Zayn will win the battle but won't win the war. So I think the mind games that Karrion Kross has obviously been doing, you know, to Sami Zayn and to other people, you know, backstage, I think that will be something that he might even do something such as like lay down for Sami Zayn as part of the match and win. And then so Sami wins, that was all part of his plan. And then afterwards we get the potentially a version, a Killer Kross light, you know, a Hurt Cross, you know, but, and that, it just depends kind of how he's being seen by management, like what they want to do with him. But that is something, again, going back to Vinceism, something that Vince was very much kind of would do with these kind of people. He'd get them to that level, then kind of say, okay, you got to that level, but we're going to do something silly now with you, so that, you know, you kind of had it, but you didn't have it.
Yeah.
But I think that Kross is the performer who could pull either of these things off. But I think his fight would just be with the latter one. He needs to be able to remain on TV to get that rematch. Yeah. To obviously, you know, get a win and go forward with that, because, you know, as we've seen in this Netflix era, you know, TV time is more than currency now. It's everything. You know, and the fact of the matter is, like, he hasn't had a match from Raw since pre-WrestleMania.
And the thing is, this Sami Zayn thing has been a long time coming as well, because he did that he did that thing on Twitter where he impersonated him, stuff like that, and you know, there's all this kind of background stuff where he was wearing his hair a certain way to kind of, and then even on this past Raw, I think, it was on Raw when Sami Zayn punched him and he walked off and he basically laughed to Scarlett, you know, being like, yeah, we got him. It does feel like this is a storyline that's been come a long time coming, but two stories being told at the same time, you know, what, like you said, this kind of new thing that Sammy might be going into and Karrion Kross. But as you say, the key is whether or not they build on this. I think you're right. I think the first option is the best one for me. I think for him to just destroy Sammy. And again, that's not because I don't like Sammy. That's because I think it will tell both their stories even better. So yeah, I like that idea quite a bit. A few comments here just to get to as well. Universal's in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Always nice to see you popping up into the streams. Promoted Sammy instead. Big fan of Sami Zayn. Clearly goes Sammy. Also mentioned, because of course we talked about Roman Reigns a little bit earlier on, so just to hop back into that for a bit. Roman not returning, they say. Roman filming Street Fighter for 3 months. Yeah, of course, just announced that Roman Reigns is going to be in Street Fighter movie. Roman will be back at Survivor Series, they say. Roman told everyone that this is the last year and that he's leaving. His contract ends in 2026. I think Roman's going to be kind of one that comes in for special events every now and then, but we'll see where we go with that. Universal says SmackDown live show today got hacked. They had to turn off all the equipment and reboot the equipment. It took 30 minutes. Is that what the rumor is going around at the moment? It'd be interesting to see what comes out about that. But keep the comments coming, guys. Daniel Wiley's in the house as well. When is Night of Champions? Daniel, it is on Saturday in the UK. I believe it's late afternoon, isn't it? 4, 5, or 6, one of those sort of things. So have a check online, buddy. But it is on Saturday. If you're watching live with us on Friday, welcome. This is also going to be replayed on the earlier part of our build-up show on Saturday as well. So if you could get a bit confused about me saying the days and stuff like that, hey, that's why. And we are going to be live again on the build-up show, getting you hyped up and in the mood for the PLE as we always do as well. Universal says LA Knight got hurt and is injured, will not be back for a few months. You heard much about this, Lucas, LA Knight?
There is a rumor going around that he is hurt, but it's something that maybe they are also saying that to move him over to the Raw brand.
Maybe.
To continue the feud with Seth Rollins post SummerSlam.
I think he's really started to pick up recently as well, so it'd be a real shame if it is legit. But yeah, that'd be good.
They've already got like a number of wrestlers on the injured list.
Oh, it's growing, isn't it? Yeah,
it's growing and growing. But yeah, sometimes they do say those kind of things to divert the audience's kind of expectations, and then obviously that person will come back later on for something. Particularly in this era we're in now, where it is very common for wrestlers to take kind of lengthier breaks. Look at Randy Orton. He literally was happy to lose in his hometown.
Yeah.
Just appeared 2 weeks ago on SmackDown.
Yeah.
So, like after like 2 months, it's now sadly just the norm nowadays. But in terms of Roman Reigns, there's been reports that he actually will be coming back before SummerSlam. I very much believe that will be the case. I think that they wouldn't. There's a narrative going out there. Where Roman Reigns is actually represented as he's the bad guy in like all of this, like the bigger bloodline, because of how, his part-time schedule has basically influenced affected events. Because it seems every time he loses, he leaves, and when he leaves, the bloodline goes to crap, basically. They all start fighting, all that kind of beef starts, and he returns, and there's big moments when he returns and he leaves again. Same thing, which is now like where's Roman to help? Where was Roman to help defend like Jey Uso? All those times he was getting hit. Where was he during all these key moments that he's missing? And then obviously he will return most likely before SummerSlam. You'd have to imagine. They had been reports that ticket sales are a little bit not the best. So you have to imagine that they would want to get him on the program.
All the names.
Soon if he is going to be part of the first ever 2-night SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Being said, but 2 nights of SummerSlam this year. So you have to imagine that he would be, but it is very odd because, like you touched on earlier, they're promoting like so many things at once. Because we've still got obviously Saturday Night's Main Event and Evolution. And let us know in the comments below. Actually, something I'm struggling with is that the pay-per-view cards don't sometimes get like a lot of time to build because of this. Because obviously they can't book or do anything for SummerSlam because they've got tomorrow night, and they've got obviously Saturday Night's Main Event and Evolution, which are the women's stories. And then they can only have like 3 weeks basically to build a whole card for 2 nights of SummerSlam. Yeah,
but you got those kind of matches building in the back, like the Gunther and Goldberg one, for example. That's been built before that gap. But I think we spoke about a few streams back. This is where I think maybe splitting the PLEs would make more sense, a Raw and SmackDown exclusive type one, because it is getting a little messy. Sometimes I think it's quite exciting when they do it, but other times it kind of feels like, oh, I'm getting in the mood for this. Oh, but that's not this weekend. That's in another. So kind of it can be a little bit risky, I find.
See, I'd split the Saturday Night's Main Event maybe, because that way at least you could, for example, now they've got that as an obstacle as to why they can't build storylines to SummerSlam.
Yeah.
But they could do it for one brand. Yeah. If obviously that was a Raw event, let's say, as well, because you've got Goldberg and Gunther.
Yeah.
And then you would then be able to explore the main event going to SmackDown.
Mm.
I guess you could argue this show tomorrow night will determine, obviously, 2 title matches that take place at SummerSlam. But then, again, it's this case of they need to be careful that they're doing a lot of the same thing like over and over again, because you already got the fact that there's very rigid ways to get title matches in WWE at the moment. You know, like you win the Rumble, you get the title match at WrestleMania. Win the Chamber, you get the other title match at WrestleMania.
You Goldberg, you show up.
You get yeah. Or even now you got King of the Ring, that's a SummerSlam main event.
Yeah.
But like all these big events now are kind of dictated by very kind of like linear ways, which I guess makes it like easier from a storytelling point of view, because they can say, okay, we can start this person's push at X, they'll win this, and then they'll win that or lose that. But it'd be nice to see some more kind of organic kind of things. I mean, remember a few years back when it was like a fatal 4-way? Was it Lesnar, Joe, Reigns, Rollins, I want to say?
Yeah.
Like, it was just like a fun match, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was a fun
yeah.
match. Like, obviously, I think Brock retained in the end. You know, but it's just like a fun match. You featured more than like one story in that. And, you know, you gave the guys, obviously at the time, Brock Lesnar was part-time, so the full-time guys were able to obviously go into separate feuds afterwards.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that, it just stops that kind of stuff from happening, which I don't know. I just find that's a bit of a problem nowadays.
Yeah, I like the kind of, I should say, the structure, almost like the way they build the storylines, but there's room for moving away from rigidness at the same time, because otherwise it can get stale and it can get just kind of stagnant, really, because if you're not cutting outside the lines ever, then it just becomes the same old thing, really, and that you know, that's a bit of a risk in itself. Talking of risk, we're going to fly through some of these comments here as well, mentioning going back to some of these injuries. Just a few comments here from Universal. Keep the comments coming, guys. And again, we really want to know what you think of Night Champions, what you thought would go home Raw and SmackDown editions as well. And in a moment, we're going to move on to the next match that we'll predict as well. But Universal has been dropping some comments again about these injuries. So we'll quickly fly through some of these, saying there's 13 people on the injured list, apparently. Chad Gable's just had surgery and is out until next year. Questions that maybe it could be a return for WrestleMania. I've seen similar reports essentially saying that Gable, I mean, speaking to someone that was on fire and then didn't want to, you know, you don't want to get injured at this time, but sadly it has happened. Liv Morgan as well, and he, you know, recently come back from an injury, injured again, which is really sad to see. Rumors being back apparently around the Royal Rumble, so we'll see how we go with that. And then of course the big one that I think is kind of getting forgotten about now, because it was a while ago and there's been so many other big names recently, is, as Universal says, Kevin Owens. Talk about trying to do physio and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a real kind of sad state that we're in with the roster, but at the same time, we got to be honest, it's a very stacked roster, and you know, these ebbs and flows means that sometimes people get opportunities they wouldn't have got. We've seen that in, you know, I mean, just think of Kofi Mania, for example, you know, stuff like that. So, right. So let's move away from injuries and all the sad stuff for the moment. Let's talk about the positives. We've seen someone come back from injury recently, and that is Asuka. She's made her way all the way to the Queen of the Ring final, where she is facing off against, I think, maybe the favorite in Jade Cargill, just by the way they've booked her in the past. You'd expect that she's going to get this next crowning moment to continue her journey, but I'm not quite sure if I'm willing to commit to that prediction just yet. Before we focus on the final, quick look back on the bracket as well. Quite an interesting format they're going with these days, and I got to say, I actually really like it, starting out with a triple threat. As much as I am a traditionalist, I do like these triple threats, because I felt like pretty much all these matches I was like, I don't know where they're going with this, you know, I don't know who's going through here, and I think it creates this kind of different level of buzz essentially. So yeah, actually really enjoyed the new format they've been toying around with over the past few years, with kind of number one contendership matches, and also here, of course, with the Queen and King of the Ring tournaments as well. But yeah, general thoughts, mate, of the Queen of the Ring. First of all, we'll get to the King of the Ring later on. How the bracket is panned out, and the two finalists, which I'll be honest, I wouldn't have picked these two at the start of it. Maybe Jade, but yeah, really don't know where they're going with it. What are your thoughts?
Just to clarify, I would say I'm getting a bit of echo from your mic. I don't know what.
Oh, okay. Guys in the chat, if you can get any of that as well, let me know. I'll try and mute myself and come back and see if that fixes anything. But
I'll just talk while you try and sort that out, maybe. But yeah, so we Queen of the Ring. Yeah, so it was fatal 4-ways actually they set up for the thing. Triple threats for Money in the Bank, and I think they'd use that for another tournament earlier in the year as well. Now, I think this is a smart way of doing it, because obviously they've got a big roster and they're trying to give more women opportunities to do it, and it also allows for what I'm hoping for that it will allow in the future, if they continue this format for next year or the year after, and so on, is that it can lead to kind of a surprise kind of victor, because obviously you can have a fatal four-way with big names like Rhea Ripley, Seth Rollins, and all that kind of stuff, all that kind of jazz, and they don't have to be involved in the decision. So the only thing I would say with a lot of these fatal four-ways, particularly on the men's side, is we were seeing a lot of interference. Like it was getting to the point where you was thinking, is this the Royal Rumble? Like there's actually somehow about 20 people like in the ring or around ringside. So I think that is something they've got to be careful with. I guess obviously we talked about men's side separately because that was very much side into Rollins' kind of faction, which was for me was a problem, but we'll get to that very soon. In terms of the women's side of things, I think the women's side of things has actually been a bit better. A bit less messy. Overall, they've introduced some new stories within this. Obviously, you had, Jade Cargill obviously does seem the favourite to win this. She had a very good performance in the Fatal 4-Way and in the match with Roxanne Perez. And Asuka was coming back on the other side of the bracket, I think really kind of, has made a quite exciting final. Obviously last year, Jade and Bianca were tag champions, feuding with the Kabuki Warriors, and this does feel like it is a good fit here because there's already kind of going to be some chemistry. Because obviously that Jade, I think she's better than people actually think that she is. Like I think there's a lot of this weird narrative around her when it comes to her in-ring performances. Like yes, look, she's not like a Becky Lynch or Charlotte Flair or whatever. But I get that. But I think in terms of what we see, like I think she does quite well. I think she gets kind of exposed quite easily when the matches go too long, and I think that's something more for a booking perspective than her perspective at the moment. Because you'd argue, a performer like her, like you don't really need her to be having like 15-minute matches.
Yeah,
you can kind of do 10 minutes and that'd be fine.
I actually feel like, and I know this is going to get some people up in arms, but I feel like she was. Oh, is it better? Did you say?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like she. From what I remember, maybe it was rose-tinted glasses looking back. I feel like she was booked better in AEW as far as her matches go. I think she was protected a little bit more, which is ironic because she was greener back then. But I think, especially towards the end of it, I think they kind of disguised a lot of that quite well. And because she didn't have the longest matches, and when she did, they were pay-per-view matches, and it kind of, she was in there with someone kind of, high caliber and stuff like that. and not to say she's working with lower wrestlers now, but I do, I notice every now and then she's slightly out of step.
I think obviously you have to remember she was booked in the tag division for a long time. She was around, very, very skilled workers. And obviously it's only really been this year that she's branched out on her own. But I think she'd already had a kind of defining moment with her match against Naomi at WrestleMania, being a non-championship women's match on a WrestleMania card, and now obviously in the Queen of the Ring. I think that in terms of this match, it's very hard to call because after coming back, really throws spanner in the works. But the only thing I'm going to say is I think that as much as this might upset a lot of Asuka fans, I think we have to just accept that she's pushing 40, she had injuries. She'd already had multiple championships in this company, despite the kind of quote-unquote people think she's been buried and mistreated and all that kind of stuff. But I think that the company is putting a lot of stock into the future.
Yeah.
I think they'd be a bit daft to not give this win to Jade. Because I think that, putting her, even if she then goes on to lose the championship match at SummerSlam, I think she should be positioned as the person, as the star here.
Yeah.
You can obviously get, there's other way rounds and routes to her. And obviously it's very, very kind of deliberate here with King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring. Got to remember is that it's their brand's champion is the key thing here.
Okay, yeah.
So I think Rumble, they obviously get to pick because they spend about 3 weeks picking to say a name usually. Obviously Chamber, they don't get to pick because they have to basically get sloppy seconds. And then is Money in the Bank is they kind of change it every year, don't they? They sometimes say it's for, well, they've had any championship at one point.
Yeah.
In, either championship or whatever. But yeah, it's very deliberate here. So essentially, Asuka is a Raw superstar. So if she was to win, she would currently go on to face Io Sky, who Io Sky might be surprised at that because she hasn't defended the title since WrestleMania. So she might be like, really?
Yeah. Oh, I'm booked.
And while I guess that could be a thing they do, I think a stronger program, particularly with the threat of Naomi potentially being involved with the SmackDown Women's Championship picture, and the quote unquote kind of dream match you can kind of think that WWE would have, they have here with Jade and Tiffany. I think that would be the smarter title scene to put her in. But I do, and I think Tiffany's performance has actually got much stronger lately as champion. I think that would be a good direction to go in. So I would go with Jade Cargill to win Queen of the Ring.
Okay. Yeah, I think I agree. I think, as you say, like there might be some people upset with that because of Asuka. Hey, I'm kind of upset with saying that. As much as I like Jade, I really like Asuka as well. And I feel like, yeah, she's not been buried. She's had good moments in her career and stuff like that. But I think a lot of her title runs feel like they kind of fell flat a few times. And she didn't kind of, sometimes at least, didn't get the kind of position I felt like she should have had as champion. But that being said, as you say, it's clear that WWE have a lot of stock in Jade, and it's time to kind of start pushing that. And realistically, if you take a step back and you just think about it, you think, hold on a minute. Yeah, Asuka's here to make Jade look good. Jade beats a legend in Asuka, future Hall of Famer and whatever, with Asuka. So I think it is probably the right call. Even though it does feel kind of obvious, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, really enjoyable Queen of the Ring tournament. As you say, it was Fatal 4-Way. Excuse my slip up earlier on of Triple Threat. But yeah, you're right. Money in the Bank had Triple Threat. This had the Fatal 4-Way. But again, it created that kind of element of who's going to go through. It was quite exciting and not as straightforward as it can be in other kind of years. Get to some more of these comments here as well. Universal says, Jade, before she left with injury / maybe a movie she was making, was scripted to win the title at WrestleMania. Will they still give her the crown now? I agree with the host that I didn't want either of these in the final. It's not so much I didn't want them in the final. It's more I didn't expect it. But now it makes more sense if you're just going in that direction for Jade. I do think they will give her the crown. They'll give her this crown, I think. And as far as crowning her as champion, I'm with Lucas. Not sure she'll win it at SummerSlam, but it does feel like she's probably going to head in that direction at least. And I think she'll get it eventually if she doesn't do it at SummerSlam. Also says Asuka's 43 years old. My goodness, she is in incredible shape for 43 and doing some incredible stuff in the ring still. It says second oldest woman on the roster, Tamina being the first oldest at 46. Incredible. I haven't seen Tamina on TV for quite some time, and she was pushed a little while back, wasn't it? Her and Natalia had that little tag run. So
yeah, I don't think they had a match since 2023. I don't believe.
My goodness, so what is going on there?
Obviously,
right.
When the Rock's involved, I guess, yeah.
Well, let's move on to... we've done the Queen of the Ring. Let's move on to the King of the Ring. So once again, we have the Fatal 4-Way to open up the bracket. And as you can see there, it's ended up with the... quite surprising final for me, because I always felt like this could have had a different story told, and that's Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. Now, for me, I just want Randy Orton to turn on Cody and for it to be a big moment that pushes Cody further into kind of that sympathetic babyface, and Randy is being Randy again as a bad guy, and I felt like it was an opportunity for a huge moment, a really shocking turn. But instead, they've gone down the route of, and he could still turn. He could lose the match and start beating up Cody at the end or something like that and smash the crown or something. I don't know. But I feel like we've wasted, because even if that doesn't happen, they've kind of wasted it in the future now, because like it won't be as much of a shock if Randy turns, because Randy's already said, look, mate, I respect you, but I'm coming for you because look, I am a bit selfish. I'm the Viper. I'm the Legend Killer, yada, yada, yada. So I feel like they've kind of shot themselves in the foot here a little bit. But that's not to say I'm not excited about the match. I'm excited to see what they do together, especially in this period of Randy Orton's career, especially now that Cody is such a big star as well. It's going to be an interesting little dynamic between the two of them. I feel like surely it is Cody Rhodes coming away with the crown here. It feels like it's got Cody written all over it. But hey, that could be where we get the swerve. It could be a Randy Orton winning. It could be down to him being a kind of devilish heel. I just think it won't be as impactful as what they could have done if he does turn heel in this instance. But what are your thoughts on this one? Again, as a kind of bracket, we'll touch on that as well. But first of all, with the final and who you think might win.
Yeah, so I think this is another reason why I think Jade should win the women's win the ring, because obviously you've got two very, very established and decorated male competitors in the final of this, and so in that special way you're not creating a star here. Sorry, WWE, to burst that bubble, but you are creating and giving. This should be a good match. Yeah, I agree. Universal, it should be a good match. And something they touched upon, I think, on Raw this week was obviously Michael Cole mentioned that King of the Ring used to be about endurance and about fitness. It used to be about who was the best at what they did in wrestling in the WWE, and obviously it was all about a one-night tournament, and now they've moved it to basically a showcase of the best of the best, and this kind of just almost just fits into the general ethos and general feel of like a WWE show nowadays anyway. Like you are, especially on TV now, like you're seeing very loaded cards, especially when it comes to the main event picture, where you will see the biggest and the best names kind of in action, every week when you tune in. To this tournament, to the tournament final, sorry, I would really like it actually to be Randy Orton. I don't think they should do Cody yet for SummerSlam. I think that they should revisit the Randy Orton thing again. I think that it's one of those where, look, there's certain feuds in the company that the internet fans, get fed up with, or they get annoyed with, or they use it as the quote-unquote reason to turn off. But they just elicit a big spike in ticket sales for the company, as the matches always draws. And one of them, which obviously, people, obviously we were fans, obviously watching the original kind of series of their matches and stuff, but the matches always drew. And they were, and similar, to the Lesnar and Reigns matches. People they just all look at SummerSlam a few years back. It pretty much they sold out a stadium with it because it's just that match that they will keep going back to the well with. And I think because how it ended, there needs to kind of be another match. And I think if they want to do the Cody thing, getting the title back, I don't think it's time just yet. I think the last 2 weeks for Cena have really ramped up like his heel run, the value of his heel run to the company. And so I don't know whether they should flirt or have him lose that title just yet. So I kind of do want it to be Randy Orton. Obviously, he was runner-up last year in that controversial way as well.
Oh, with Gunther, yeah.
Yeah, with Gunther.
Yeah.
Does he become a 2-time runner-up? He most likely does, just because you can sense what Triple H is booking towards. But yeah, I don't want it. I'll be honest, I don't want Cody and Cena at SummerSlam.
No, I don't either.
The only other thing I can think of, and I guess it goes back to the point where I was saying about these things being quite rigid, is what if it's a draw and they do a triple threat? Or they do something different going into the situation. But I guess it depends what the end goal is. Like, I think Cena has said recently, like, apparently we're deciding this run and where it goes. Our reaction to stuff. And because the reaction now is quite hot, are they going to decide, like, you know what? we may need to pause the kind of getting the belt off this guy. Because it's ultimately like the reaction stuff he's doing is really hot. But then obviously we have got to factor in something we have to talk about very soon. Obviously, is this? I'm assuming that Cena is going to be champion still.
You never know.
And they have also announced that, unlike last year, where the King of the Ring final was the main event, that the WWE Championship match between Cena and Punk will be the main event. So we will be seeing this match before we know for definite who is the champion. Yeah. And because both these wrestlers are on SmackDown, which obviously is the home of the WWE Championship, we essentially know that that's what they'll be going after. Whoa. Sorry. Or do we? because if Punk wins, he's a Raw superstar.
Yeah. And what's interesting as well is the timing of all this, where you've still got Money in the Bank, you know.
Yes.
And speaking of which, you did have a few thoughts, you said, on the bracket and how it was kind of heavily around Seth and his buddies. So yeah, do you want to touch on that here?
Well, yeah. So essentially, you had obviously they put in both Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker into this tournament, which instantly created a problem because it meant that essentially at least one of them could not win the Fatal 4-Way because they just couldn't. And then they did a kind of long way round of obviously a lot of interference, a lot of kind of stuff with that. And the Rollins faction is already kind of getting a lot of TV time as it is. And with Rollins having Money in the Bank as well, like it was very much feeling a bit like, okay, like is there going to be any other story to this? And thankfully, they went with the option of basically both of them losing, but via kind of interference and obviously LA Knight involved. But I think for me, that was the difference between the men's and the women's one. I think the men's one focused too much on, in a nice way, a performer who wasn't even in the brackets.
Yeah, good point.
More important than the actual brackets and stuff.
Yeah.
I think once we got to the semi-finals, and obviously without the the thing is, I mean, Seth Rollins can't even name his stable at the moment. Like the Seth Rollins group, this pack they've got, I think it actually got a bit better. And in that, again, maybe something to watch out for next year. Like, do they do the similar thing next year where they have a lot of kind of intertwining storylines involve these 4-way matches? And then when it's the semi-finals, they then go, okay, this is more like serious now. But yeah, it was just a bit of annoyance for me, having that. And I guess they had a nice tease of Zayn potentially getting the, kind of getting forward.
Yeah.
But it makes sense if what I believe does happen next year at the Saudi Rumble, and he's his moment, I think that will be kind of a good trade.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. I mean, it wasn't even in my mind that that's what they could be doing. I do agree with you that I think he'll be winning it. Just to recap for anyone that's joined us late in the show, Lucas was basically saying that Sammy could go in this kind of run towards WrestleMania next year and hopefully become the world champion finally, and set that up by winning the Saudi Royal Rumble. And I do think that is quite likely. And yeah, hopefully that is something we do see. But like I say, I thought he might get to the final here. It doesn't quite happen. As you mentioned, it was teased, but it did end up becoming Cody versus Randy Orton. When it comes down to it, Lucas, I think I'm still going to go with Cody. I'm like you in that I'm not really looking for the marquee seeing the Cody match at the moment. But I feel like it probably is what they're going to do to kind of sell those tickets. As much as you say Cena, Orton sells tickets, completely agree with you there as well. But I think this is much like the Cargill one where they're going to go for it sounds weird saying it about Cody, man, he's been around for a long, long time, but the future, rather than, Randy Orton. But hey, at the same time, Randy Orton winning it as one of the last things he kind of ticks off the bucket list before he retires as well, is because I don't think he's won it before, has he, Randy Orton? So I wouldn't be against that, and it would freshen things up, but ultimately I feel like it's probably going to be
anyone
Cody.
who was to win out of both King and Queen would be a first time winner.
Oh, okay, yeah, good point actually. So yeah, we're going to get and that's what you like. Even though Cody and Orton have been around for some time, it's very different there. But ultimately, I think first time winners is usually what I'd like to go for anyway. So yeah, that's pretty good. All right, let's move on from the King and the Queen of the Ring matches and move into Raquel Rodriguez versus Rhea Ripley. Now, I think the presentation of both of these has improved quite a bit lately, actually. I think that Rhea's coming across quite well. I think she's one of those talents who are in the position on the roster where it's easy to slip into kind of staleness. And I think she had done that for a little bit, but I think pairing her with Raquel has actually been an interesting little feud. So I've actually quite enjoyed it. And it's similar because it's linked to Liv in some way, but not getting that same old feud. And it's giving Raquel a chance to shine as well. So I've enjoyed what they've been doing. Not sure if it's, not being harsh, the match I'm most looking forward to on this card. But when it comes to does Raquel deserve an opportunity? I think she does. And does Rhea deserve to be in PLE matches? Of course she does anyway. She's one of the biggest stars in the company. So in that sense, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. But I'm just not sure if it's the match for me when I look at the card. But what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I don't understand why it's on a Night of Champions show.
Yeah, same.
Why, they had obviously a women's championship match tonight. Why the other women's championship is again not being defended.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It's like they wanted to make something to SmackDown rather than Night. I mean, yeah, Night. We spoke about this off air a few times. How ridiculous it is that it's Night Champions is 2 title matches. Just change the name. Call it King and Queen of the Ring again. Like, why? Why did the Saudi show have to be Night Champions and then you book it without title matches? It makes no sense, especially when you gave us title matches on SmackDown. Which, by the way, we got
We've got 3 times.
Yeah, so I appreciate there might be people watching that haven't seen SmackDown yet, so I'm trying to be careful what I say, even though I started with all the spoilers. But yeah, but I was gonna get into some results there. But yeah. So, but barely with the technical issue. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this doesn't need to be on the show. This would be better suited on Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously, with the current situations going on, with Liv Morgan being injured, and the rumor about obviously her wanting to face Nikki Bella and all that kind of stuff going around, like you don't know what they've had to change in order to get to this. But it does also just scream of a way to get Rhea Ripley onto the card. You have to imagine with the Saudi paying $50 million for a show, and WWE present, this is the match we're going to do. If they would have enough kind of swing to be like, well, Rhea Ripley's one of your biggest stars, where is she?
True.
So in terms of who I think will win, I think it will be Rhea Ripley. I don't foresee anything else, any other option really. I think obviously they're going to want to keep her strong going forward into Evolution, as one would imagine. She'll be one of the kind of big,
surely,
on that show, along with hopefully Io Sky. If they, I will keep saying this until they give the poor lady a match. For her championship, that she won back in March.
Yeah, not good enough. But again, it's a common theme, isn't it? Where all these titles not being defended, and again, of all PLEs, I don't know. I don't want to get too much on the negatives, but it's got to be said.
The only thing we can say is that she is going to be having a banger of a match at Evolution if they remember to book her. Sorry, that's my last year's
last little dig. All right, let's get to some more of these comments here again. Universal's dropping some good ones for us here. It says Cody has told everyone that he will be turning heel in the future. Not soon though. In a year or 3. Not too cryptic. I do think it's coming, but not just yet because he's money. He is money, and you've got a lot of heels kind of
he's
big turns anyway.
It a little bit
he's playing up to it, and it will happen. People will start to kind of get a little bit more bored and whatever else. Also says interesting trivia. This is the first time that Randy and Cody have fought each other since September the 2nd, 2013. That match was Cody's last match in WWE, WF as it says. The stipulation was Cody's career on the line. Is that before the whole Stardust situation? Wow, that's quite a great fact there, Universal. Thanks for that. And this would be Cody's receipt on Randy now. It makes sense. Yeah, I like that little bit of storytelling there. Thank you for diving into the archives to bring us that deep take there, mate. Appreciate it. Keep your comments coming, guys. Want to know what you think of this weekend's festivities. Are you looking forward to Night of Champions? And if so, which match are you most looking forward to? And are you in the same camp of us as well? Why is it called that with only 2 title matches? But again, we'll try not to be negative because the card is still an interesting one. We've been breaking it down here live on our weekend kickoff show. You've been watching the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, and on the night of the PLE, or the afternoon as it'll be for us here in the UK, we'll have our build-up show, which is something we do for all PLEs, and it's basically getting you hyped up and in the mood for the big show. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and stay tuned to the channel, and you'll see the live portion of that on Saturday as well. What you're watching at the moment, though, is our weekend kickoff show. We like to kick things off in style here on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, and that's, again, what you're watching at the moment. So what we will do on the build-up show is break down the card further, and usually we've got friends from the wrestling media world joining us on that as well. But for now, it's myself and Lucas breaking down a card and let you know what we think is going to happen at Night of Champions by kicking off the weekend in a big way on the channel. So again, subscribe if you haven't already, and you may even be watching this on the build-up show itself, because again, this is going to be replayed on the earlier portion of it, and then after that, we will be going live once again, taking you right up to the start of the PLE, getting you guys hyped up and in the mood, and getting us in the mood for it as well. I'm sure it's going to be a good one when we do get there. But for now, we've got one more match to predict, and it's a big one, and one that we saw quite an interesting setup for on the go home edition of SmackDown, which I do want to get your thoughts on in a minute, Lucas, because it was quite interesting. We came on the air earlier on, it was still live, I was live reacting to it, and then we started a little bit of a review of SmackDown, but we didn't really touch on that final segment. So before we get to the match, before we get to, I guess, anything else that's happened in this feud so far, what were your thoughts on Punk Life as the new Doctor of Thugonomics made his way to the ring in Chicago sports gear and rapped pretty impressively, I gotta say, to remember as much as he did. Look, he remembers promos all the time, don't get me wrong, but he has to hit certain points. Here he had to, and you could say, about rapping skills, he's not up there with certain legendary acts or anything like that, but to simply remember those rhymes, I think he did really well. He stumbled a little bit, but look, it's going to happen. Overall, I thought it was quite interesting. Something I never expect to see from a CM Punk type character, but I think that's why I loved it so much. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I thought that last week was fantastic too. Obviously, the throwback to the pipe bomb.
Yeah.
This episode being, 14 years to the day.
Fantastic,
of, that pipe bomb promo and him obviously mimicking Cena. I thought that was fantastic. Yeah, he stumbled a little bit, but we all do from time to time. It's one of those promos though. I think the only thing, and this thing, sorry, I want to say this actually. The crowd was actually really good for SmackDown, right?
Yeah.
So before I say what I'm about to
especially
say,
at the beginning, before the technical thing,
yeah,
they were on fire.
Yeah.
But I think I know where you're going with this one.
And yeah, throughout the matches, most of the matches they were really, really positive towards either one, and that was good. It seemed like they were having a good time. But the crucial thing is, there still are like an international territory where there's still a bit of a language barrier potentially, and so some of the lines didn't hit as hard.
Yeah,
they're not used to.
Like the wordplay and stuff like that. I think it's difficult,
I think like when he mentioned about. I think as well there's a timing issue as well, like obviously with comedy's about timing, and obviously Punk was going slow to maybe like an English speaking person, but maybe to them they were unable to
catching
kind of follow
up,
it potentially, because particularly the line, I thought the line obviously about how they brought back Nikki Bella, that I think in an American crowd that would have
got a big it got a bit of one, but not like it. And again, this is the fact that people can speak more than one language is incredible anyway, and clearly they understand enough because they react to a lot of things. But really, you do have to hit just kind of key notes, and I felt the same way. I can't remember which show it was. It might have been, I don't know if it was Berlin or one of the other international shows where. No, it might even been when we were covering the Raws and SmackDowns in Europe, where some of the promos, just didn't quite hit the same because it would have been that country's second language, for example, or it wouldn't be their first essentially. But that being said, as you say, the crowd were really on fire. Punk delivered quite well. Cena just did what he needed to do, which was look confused and annoyed at the same time. And I think it sold this match in a way that I didn't expect. I mean, we saw Punk on the Kickoff show, WWE's version of the Kickoff at least, saying that, I'm going to do something big on SmackDown. I never expected it to be this. And I give him credit for trying something like this. You mentioned last week with the pipe bomb as well. I think we could do a whole series on the original pipe bomb someday. I'd love to dive into that further. But so I like seeing this one. I like the references, the callbacks to the original one as well. Again, for Punk to come back and kind of take a leaf out of Cena's book here this week, I think was really good. Really fun build these past 2 weeks, but a build that's been going on for a while, really. He came out and criticized Cena and Rock as soon as what went down at Elimination Chamber happened. So this has been brewing in the background. A lot of people would have liked to have seen this at Money in the Bank, but, to kind of have that kind of symbolism from the past and stuff like that. But hey, it is what it is. At least they timed in with these nice little anniversaries anyway. But yeah, I think it's been a good built feud. When it comes to predicting the match, though, look, it's a Cena Punk match. It's hard to really go into it. Look, I think my head is telling me, oh, it's Cena, because as you said earlier on, he's probably not ready to have that title taken off of him. But Punk's gonna win that title someday. Like, he's gonna win a world title in WWE before he hangs up his boots, and we don't know when that's gonna be. And injuries can play a part, and we've seen how that can derail things in the past few years with Punk as well. So I don't know if they just pull the trigger and give it to Punk now. But I think that's my heart creeping in. That's me as a CM Punk fan and enjoying and thinking nostalgia of these two guys, and that we could see a big moment, at the end of Saturday's show. But I think, again, if my head is really taken over, which it probably should, then I think Cena's going to win this one. But I'm looking forward to the story they tell. And I think there is a possibility for some sort of progression of story in another sense, whether it's kind of Travis Scott come out and stand there for no reason again, or something like that. Something's going to happen if Punk doesn't win, surely, right? Maybe it's Ron Killings. What do you think?
Well, yeah, so you got R-Truth, who has been going to keep calling him out. R-Truth obviously got involved in the match against Orton. So, and there's a lot of narrative, behind there being another R-Truth John Cena match.
Yeah. And
it's interesting that both the previous match they've had were both non-championship matches. So one would argue that they need to maybe do that match. Now, this being Cena and Punk, it's very interesting. Like, this whole year we've seen it, really, because it does feel almost like to everyone, it's almost like they're doing the matches in a weird order. Because we've had Orton first, we've had Punk quite early, and it does seem that they're only going to go towards Rhodes being the
winner. Yeah.
The person to throw in Cena. But are we going to still see a few more swerves? But the problem is, like, we're getting. Okay, right. This is actually quite sad, but we are at the halfway mark. Halfway. This retirement year, we're at the halfway mark. I think in terms of dates and in terms of actual time.
Yeah.
His contract will expire. The last show he will perform at is actually 27th of December, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we're now today sitting here on the 20th of June. So we're halfway through.
True, yeah.
So if now really is the only time they can make these little adjustments, you'd argue, because if they want to get towards the end goal, wherever it is, they've got to get there. And this bit in the middle, they got to determine, okay, can we make a few changes here and there, and then we can get to that end bit. So it's so hard to predict. And obviously we got the threat of a Rollins cash in, because they have again opened up this year that it is for any championship. So Rollins could wish to cash in on this championship, despite him not being a SmackDown superstar.
Yeah.
Not that it really matters nowadays, to be dead honest. But it's the main event. The Cena matches we've seen obviously have been very riddled with controversy, interference, kind of, there seem to be things that are happening. I think it's going to happen again. I think we're going to see John Cena leaving as champion. I think it's the right thing to do. I think that, Punk even said it tonight where, that obviously Cena will not be here over 6 months, but Punk still will be. I firmly believe that he will be. I think that he'd be... I think he's probably got another couple of years left in him, just about. If he keeps looking after himself. And so potentially we see this next year. Or do we see this Punk being the one to end it, but later on in the year? There's many options. Or Punk even beating Cody, and doing it that way. But yeah, I'm going to go with John Cena. It's so hard, though. It's the hardest match to predict, isn't it?
It's crazy because it maybe shouldn't be that hard. But again, you can't help but think of the history, and there's so many different ways I could go with both these guys as far as what's next in the title, and kind of whether, Seth Rollins and all, the King of the Ring, and there's a lot going on at the moment, and still a lot of unanswered questions about The Rock's involvement and whatever else. But as you said earlier on, I think Cena's heel turn starting to work. Fans are getting on side, and it's been quite good. But again, it's a very tough one to pick. Now, we also got some great promo videos recently about their yin and yang, showing their history and stuff like that, and how they've kind of switched roles, which I've really, really enjoyed. Universal's hit us with a comment here, says, on all WWE programming, they've said that Punk and Cena have only fought 13 times, with 6 wins, 6 losses each, and 1 tie. But this is a lie, because they've fought each other. He says 27 here, but I know there's another thing that's coming here saying 37 times, apparently. So yeah, talking about house shows, which apparently the record for that is 19 wins for Cena and 18 for Punk. So it is close. Apparently, most recently, Cena beat Punk on a live event show earlier this year in Dallas on February the 25th. But the last match they had, February 25th, 2013, for the title is when Cena won as well. So yeah, interesting points there about their history. It's a lot closer than I would have imagined. Universal does think that Cena's going to win, though. I think, I think it's likely there will be John Cena, but I think there's going to be a good story to tell whatever they do. Look, we'll dive into more kind of rumors and kind of possible twists and turns as well, as I'm sure, on the build-up show as well. Hopefully, again, have friends from the wrestling media on that as well. But appreciate you joining me tonight, Lucas, because I know, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to join us on the live portion of the build-up show. But yeah, it's been really good chatting wrestling again. It's been a long, long time. Apologies for those that have stayed tuned and kind of been expecting some streams lately, but we haven't been able to deliver. But yeah, really grateful that you guys stuck with us. We hit 1,000 subscribers a few months back, I think, around WrestleMania. So just continuing to grow, really. So we want to give you more content, and we're going to try and do exactly that around Night of Champions, but also, again, with those other big shows coming up, Saturday night's main event, Evolution, and all the big stories coming out of WWE and the wrestling world overall. Before we do get out of here, Lucas, what are your final thoughts on Night of Champions as we start wrapping up?
Yeah, I think touch on most things anyway, but I think glad to see 6 matches. Sometimes Saudi events have a pre-show match announced on the day, so
yeah,
it does seem maybe something even with SmackDown tag division, because again, one area where I think they are lacking is just tag team representation on the PLEs in general. And yeah, it'd be nice to see a tag match even from the pre-show. I'll be open for that. Obviously, I can't watch the show live, which would be very unique for me because I avoid watching things live. But DKW have a show tomorrow.
Yeah.
Time. So
good luck in that, man.
Thank you very much. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching this back and skipping the ads.
Yeah. Are you going to be able to watch it later in the night then when you get home?
Probably not until Sunday.
Oh yeah. Be careful with the internet, mate.
You know those people now.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
got to be careful with spoilers, though, mate. That's all I'll say. Be careful with that. Universal says, God bless, gentlemen. Enjoy the show and like and subscribe, everyone. Yeah, thank you, Universal. I know you've been with us for quite some time. Always good to see you popping up in the comments. And again, always appreciate anyone that joins us for the streams. And those lurking in the background that don't comment as well, we love you too. We appreciate having you with us. I've been Scott. He's been Lucas. This has been your weekend kickoff show from the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, featuring all the kind of latest news and stories surrounding Night of Champions. We will be back for the build-up show on Saturday as we get into the final hours, counting down towards the PLE itself. But for now, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the... All right, well, this is the next one. Thanks for staying with us, guys. You've been watching the weekend preview. Again, that was recorded last night, straight after SmackDown in Saudi Arabia went off the air. And it was great to get Lucas's insight, of course. And I've seen a few comments coming in, and we're going to get to those in just a few moments as well. But hi, I am Scott. This is the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. If you've been here before, you know exactly how it works. But if you're new here, essentially this is about getting you and us hyped up and in the mood for the big PLE tonight. There is a lot going on. It's a big show out there in Riyadh, and it's an interesting card to break down. As you would have seen from our original preview, there are a lot of kind of possible scenarios as we start heading into Saturday night's main event, as we head into Evolution, and then further afield, of course, with the 2-night SummerSlam as well. So loads to break down. But before we do that, let's tell you what we're all about.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, so thanks for joining us, guys. Of course, at the moment, WWE have their countdown show as well. So you would have seen in our original prediction and preview video, we just did there with the weekend kickoff show, that Lucas was wondering whether or not there was going to be a match on the pre-show. We do often get that in Saudi. It doesn't happen in many places, but there are a few shows, mainly international ones, where we have seen it. Doesn't look like it's happening at the moment, but we're going to keep on top of any kind of news that breaks. But essentially, this will be a little watch-along companion. If you are watching the countdown show, let me know. Let me know if you're enjoying that. I think they're not quite what they used to be. I like things about it, but hey, a match or two would be quite nice, right? But since we're not going to get that, we're going to break down the card outside of kayfabe, outside of storyline, and you know what we do here. Again, it's about getting us all hyped up and in the mood for the PLE. But we'll keep an eye on the kind of in WWE universe, to use the term that they like, the stories that are coming out of the countdown show, if anything relevant does happen. But let's break down the card and let's talk all things Night of Champions. Really going to be a fun show, I feel, because we've got 6 matches. Can you believe it? In an era where we only get 5, we've got 6. And you might have thought, if you heard this a few months ago, oh, that's because there's so many championships and it's Night of Champions. We've got to have more matches because there's quite a few titles, right? Nah, just an extra non-title match because there are 4 non-title matches and 2 for championships. And right, okay, you can argue that the King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring, they're crowning someone, but yeah, there should be more title matches. But we're going to start with one of them. Thankfully, we do have some title matches to talk about. We got the US champion, Jacob Fatu, defending his title up against his cousin, Solo Sikoa. Now, of course, since Jacob came into WWE, he's really been on fire. And they were obviously wanting to capitalize on his kind of hype and the success of bringing him in pretty much straight away. And that's exactly what they've done. They've turned him into US champion already. And, I mean, I think it's going pretty well. Now, will it result in a long title reign? I'm not entirely sure, but I don't really see Solo winning this one. You would have seen in our original predictions there, Lucas went with the idea of kind of just some shenanigans, really, and there being some sort of bloodline interference because we haven't seen Tungaloa for a while. I believe both injured. Tangaloa has been out longer, so maybe he's more likely to come back soon. Or would we get a new member? Looks like there's always new ones to recruit into the Bloodline or Bloodline 2.0, which they're not. I don't think you're even using that term at the moment as well. But we've got a few comments here, so we'll get into some of those as well as we make our way through. I see Aiden's in the house, of course. Again, when we were showing our original stream, we were commenting in the background, having a little bit of a conversation there anyway. But just to pick up on some of the points that is made here as well, says that he thinks that Cena is going to lose by disqualification and then lose to Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam and then CM Punk win at WrestleMania. So mapping it all the way up to next April for us there is Aiden. Look, I don't think it's that wild to kind of make those kind of predictions. I saw you earlier on, you said about Punk winning by DQ tonight. I think that does kind of make sense. Cena kind of, the cowardly heel getting away with it almost. And then, yeah, if Cody wins the King of the Ring, well, he's facing Cena at SummerSlam. And it does feel like that the obvious thing to do. So I kind of could see that. And Punk winning at WrestleMania, again, big star, big match. Who knows? Maybe that is possible as well. Aiden clarifies a little bit here, though, says because it will be Cody versus Randy at the Royal Rumble. I mean, we're getting Cody Randy tonight, but I know what you mean. Maybe one with a bit more story behind it. Again, I'm really surprised they didn't have Cody get turned, on by Randy Orton. It hasn't happened. It could happen at the end of this match. He could really kind of turn into a heel from that point. But as I said before, he's already told us, I'll do anything. So it won't be as shocking. I really do think they've missed a possible big shock if Randy Orton turned on Cody Rhodes here, you know, kind of playing into that mentor thing for a little bit, and then out of nowhere, no pun intended, Randy Orton turns on him. Aiden also says he's got 4 dates in on the road to Clash in Paris and SummerSlam. He will be there, so that's 5, I think. So he's got 10 days left after Clash in Paris. Of course, Clash is heading to France, as you mentioned there. Really excited to have more European PLEs to talk about and more international shows as a whole. I really do think they bring in a great kind of flavor to the WWE and make it feel global as it should, as a company called World Wrestling Entertainment, right? And, you know, we always enjoy seeing what the different fan bases are going to be like. And yeah, hopefully we'll have a good show out there in Paris. But as you say, Cena's got not too many dates left. And as Lucas was saying earlier on, we're pretty much halfway through his retirement year. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they book this, because it's getting to crunch time. It's getting serious now. They've used Randy Orton, which is why I don't think Randy should win tonight and face Cena at SummerSlam, because they've done that. I think there's so much they have to do. They could do it at least. So I'd like to see it move on, essentially. So Orton's out of the way already. Punk's out of the way already. For me, Cody, I don't want Cody again. You know, I want someone else to be. I don't know. Maybe Punk tonight, but I don't see it happening. Takara World's in the house as well. Says, what's your opinion on WWE not making Zelina Vega as dominant a threat when she was the US Women's Champion from April the 25th to just yesterday? Yeah, thanks for bringing it up, buddy. We didn't really mention it on last night's stream, but yeah, Zelina Vega did lose the US Championship to Julia. I thought it was a decent match. It was quite fun, but I think you're right, Takara, there. I don't think they did book her as the strongest looking champion. She didn't have it for too long, but at the same time, I think you can see the writing is on the wall when it comes to Julia, right? They want to push her in a big way. She climbed to the top very fast in NXT, and I'm somewhat surprised she's won the US title already, but also not. Like, even the call-up was kind of a weird transition, but still really enjoyed it. Enjoyed Zelina getting gold. I think she deserved to have a moment like that. And I think that's why these mid-card titles are great, because it really does give new opportunities, you know. Someone like Zelina might not have been winning the Women's World title or WWE Women's Championship. So to give an IC and a US title to the women's roster, I think has been a great decision. But yeah, a good 2 months, but I do kind of get where you're coming from there. But again, thanks for your comment, mate. We've got... Oh, Casper's in the house. You changed your name on here. Manchester United fan games. What's going on there? Good evening, Casper here, Scott. It seems it's been ages since the last stream. Looking forward to Night of Champions. So, yeah, good to have your housemate in the house, mate. Really, really appreciate you joining us and appreciate you checking in. Yeah, we didn't manage to do anything for... Was it Money in the Bank? God, we haven't done much at all lately, have we? I feel really bad, but I appreciate you sending us that comment to see how things were going. And yeah, glad to be back here for Night of Champions and have you with us again as well, mate. Appreciate all the comments as always. And if you're lurking in the background, we appreciate you as well. Yeah, looking forward to Night of Champions, Casper. I agree. I think it's going to be a good show. 6 matches, quite interesting, right? We've already talked about how 5 is, you know, a bit too rigid. They should have a little bit more than that. What are we getting here on the screen now? Oh, we are. Oh, there is a dark match or a pre-show match. My goodness, I didn't even realize. Lyra Valkyria. What is this? No, this is last year, isn't it? Okay, she's a replay. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh. So it's King, Queen, and the Ring graphics. I thought, oh, okay, it could be. Anyway, false alarm. Not up to date with NXT and SmackDown. So SmackDown was really good, in my opinion, mate. I think they did a good job at selling Night of Champions to us. The only thing I would say is it was too long. But hey, SmackDown's going back to 2 hours next week. So that'll be a much more palatable show, in my opinion. But yeah, there we go. So yeah, no match, sadly, on the Countdown show, it doesn't seem. This is just highlights from last year. So even less kind of fresh content, which is a bit of a shame. But hey, it is what it is. But at least we've got our show here to keep you company instead, right? It's all about getting hyped up and in the mood. And if they're just going to show replays of last year, then why don't we have the conversation about this one? You're going to be changing your name back to Casper. Okay, no worries. I recognize the picture anyway. We're all good. We're all good. All right, let's break down the card in a bit more detail, though. As we said earlier on, we've got Jacob Fatu going on up against Solo Sikoa. And as I mentioned, Lucas does think this could be one that ends in shenanigans and maybe a new member to this kind of 2.0 bloodline. Let's move on to the next one though, and it's Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross. Really happy to see both these guys on the card. I think Sami Zayn out in Saudi is always good fun. He gets a great reception there. Karrion Kross, talk about great reception. He's really been kind of putting the work in, and I know a lot of you will be familiar with this, but a lot of these promos he's been doing on social media and kind of background shows and stuff like that, I think he's really, really put the work in, and I think it's going to hopefully pay off tonight with a convincing win. You know, Lucas was saying on our weekend kickoff show that he'd like to see a squash, and that's nothing against Sami Zayn. We love Sami Zayn, right? But we think there's a bigger story to tell with Sami in the future. Maybe going towards him finally winning gold as far as the top tier gold, at least, you know, World Championship or WWE Championship. So what we could do is kind of push Sami Zayn down and then lift him back up eventually to that great height. And in the meantime, build a new star in Karrion Kross. It's weird saying that, seeing as, you know, it's about 5 years ago now, back in NXT, he was looking like the future then. And we all know it kind of fell off since then. But he's putting the work in. He's really kind of making the effort to come across as an interesting character where you've got these little nuances, you know, these kind of stuff that he had with AJ Styles, stuff that he's had with Sami Zayn that's gone on for quite some time now. So I'm with Lucas in the sense that I think Karrion Kross should not only win, but destroy Sami Zayn in just a few minutes. When he got punched by Zayn the other day, he didn't really react. And I thought, what's going on there? Sami's lingering a bit long. Scarlett's seeing to him, and then he laughs, you know, he's basically saying, you know, we got him. So there's something going on here, and I hope it isn't just kind of, I hope it's smoke and mirrors for the character, not smoke and mirrors for us, where we're just like, oh, that was a whole load of nothing. I really do hope that there's more kind of to this kind of interesting psychological side to the story that that Karrion's been telling. We just saw, again, highlights from last year's Queen of the Ring final. So let's focus on this year's Queen of the Ring final. We've got Asuka going up against Jade Cargill. Now, this is an interesting one because you've got two very, very different performers here. You've got Asuka, who's only just come back from injury. And I know a lot of people are big fans of Asuka and always feel like she's not quite kind of, I wouldn't say reached the heights, but had memorable long title defenses or anything like that. I feel like, or title reigns, I should say. She's got a great CV, and again, we talked about it in last night's stream. But I always kind of feel like I want more for her, you know, like, and I feel like she deserves to get this crown. But at the same time, I love when the King of the Ring, now the Queen of the Ring, the Money in the Bank, the Royal Rumble was given to someone that is building to that next stage. And now that it's a guaranteed title shot, it really does put you in that next kind of bracket. And I think Jade Cargill is clearly someone they want to put in that position. And I think she's worked hard to get to that position as well. She's had a good run in WWE so far. The tag reign, of course, was interesting. It led into a great storyline, I feel, with Naomi. And I do feel will kind of come back again in the kind of form of Bianca Belair being a part of that as well. But you know, hopeful that story is going to be a really good one to tell. But does it become a story that involves the title? I kind of felt like it might, but that's not the way it would look at the moment. I actually thought SummerSlam, Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair, big match. Maybe we will get it, and therefore she doesn't win here. Maybe something happens at Evolution, and that's how we start setting up Bianca, because she's been kept apart for quite some time now. So I'm kind of talking myself out of it, guys. I'm starting to think that Asuka could win this because Bianca's got kind of business with Jade Cargill, and Jade Cargill therefore needs to come out of the title picture. Maybe that's WrestleMania though. Do you hold off on Bianca turning heel that long? I mean, it's been something people have talked about for a long, long time. I don't know. But, you know, the marquee match is there for SummerSlam, in my opinion. It makes sense, but maybe not. Maybe it does end up being the new kid on the block in the form of Jade Cargill winning the crown here, going on to SummerSlam and facing, I guess, Tiffany Stratton, right? It's supposed to be the person on their show. You can see here the bracket as well. And again, I mentioned it on last night's stream. Real exciting the way this tournament started with those Fatal 4-Ways. I think it is a great way to kind of keep things fresh and exciting from the get-go, because you don't know who's going through, I feel. Because those Fatal 4-Ways, there's at least 2 or 3 guys where you're like, well, they could win the whole tournament in some of the matches, you know, depending on how they book it. So, yeah. Another comment here, now to Josh. He says, do you see Goldberg winning gold or losing his final match? That's a great question. I'm torn. I am torn about this. I won't spend too much time on it because, of course, we'll cover it in more detail when we get closer to Saturday night's main event. But I am torn. I think I could just see Goldberg winning the title and retiring with the title. But there's also another option when you might guess what I'm getting at here, but I won't go into it too much. We'll cover that more on Saturday night's main event. But I got a feeling that they might overbook this, but it might actually make everyone happy at the same time, if that makes sense. So again, we'll get to that on Saturday night's main event content, but thanks for the comment either way. Let me know what you think about tonight's show. I don't think we'll get any kind of appearance from Goldberg or Gunther on tonight's show, but that'd be quite interesting if we did, actually, because it's already quite a stacked card, and there's so many. This thing where they're building these different feuds at the same time for different shows in the background. There's so many different storylines going on at once. So yeah, sometimes that's a hindrance, but sometimes it's quite positive. Talking about great storylines, though, at the moment, Karrion Kross is being interviewed on the countdown. Let's see what he's got to say for himself. He's a great promo. Yeah, so they even mentioned it here. It's about he's sick of the story about Sami Zayn becoming world champion, and no one wants to ask about his story. But again, two great stories being told at once here, and I'm really happy that this is on a PLE. Again, maybe not Night of Champions, because we need some title matches for, Night of Champions. But yeah, good interview there from what I saw, at least from Karrion Kross. Looks very nice and sunny out there in Saudi. We're getting some good weather here in England, by the way. I mean, I'm pretty warm in here. I might have to put a fan on in a minute. But let's get to some more of these comments, though. Keep them coming, guys. Casper says, I don't know all the scheduled matches at Night of Champions. All I know is the match of Asuka versus Cargill, Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes, John Cena versus CM Punk. Yeah, three of the big ones there, of course. We've also got Jacob Fatu versus Solo, which we've touched on already. Karrion Kross versus Sami Zayn. There's one more as well. Let me just see what it is. Rhea and Raquel. We'll touch on that in a bit more detail very soon. But yeah, overall, I think it's been a good Queen of the Ring tournament. And I think the winner is probably, if I really had to kind of bet on it, I'd probably go with Jade Cargill winning this one, which again would be a shame for Asuka. Big fan of Asuka's work, but this feels like it's about the future. But then again, the good thing about the Money in the Bank is there's a lot of time to build. If you're upper mid card breaking into the top level, there's a lot of time to kind of make that believable while you get the briefcase. Not saying Jay's not believable, but what I'm getting at is that Asuka is a ready-made kind of main eventer. She could go into SummerSlam and headline, one nights, or at least go into a big title match essentially. So that wouldn't be too surprising in that sense. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they come up with tonight. Anyway, now to Josh, he says Triple H really sucks. Cody versus Randy at least can be done on SummerSlam or many of a good story segments. They have a history of legacy. In 2009, it feels so rushed. Look, I could not agree with you more, mate. I really do feel the same way. I mentioned it on last night's stream as well. Weekend kickoff show. Again, thank you so much to everyone that joined us live for that. And thank you for everyone that's tuned in here for the build-up. It's about getting hyped up and in the mood. And I want to be more hyped up and in the mood about this match, right? Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, as you say, mate, got a great history there. Great theme song. Do you remember that? Legacy theme song was a banger. And they were playing up to this kind of, Randy Orton's his mentor and all that every now and then. And I just kept thinking, Randy's going to turn and he's going to say, I'm the same old Randy. I'm sorry, but I told you who I am. And to be fair, that's kind of what they're doing. Like, he keeps saying, I'm going to do whatever it takes. But it won't be as shocking. I think there's a chance he turns heel tonight. I think there's a chance he wins the King of the Ring or loses and kind of takes Cody out or something. But then it is rushed, right? Because you can't then put him in at SummerSlam. Let's make it triple threat, which would be kind of cool. Excuse me. But I agree. I think it could have been a big turn and it could have been a main event at, like you say, SummerSlam or a Rumble, or even WrestleMania. And instead, we're probably going to get Cody Rhodes versus John Cena at SummerSlam. Might be wrong. And I'm sure it can still be a good feud if they actually turn into a feud. Because at the moment, it's just they both want the same thing. Kind of similar to Jay versus Cody. But that could be the way they tell the story. They say, look at Jay and Cody. Look at the respect there at the end of that match. But look at the difference between Cody and Randy. So, to be fair, that might be a good little story to tell. But again, I would have just loved Randy literally turning on Cody out of nowhere with no kind of, previous match that they'd kind of been battling against each other in or anything like that anyway. But we'll wait and see how it turns out. Casper says, I thought the heel turn coming for Cody Rhodes. I thought on a heel turn coming for Cody Rhodes. I thought it was going to happen on SmackDown when the Superstars wasn't letting him speak. Yeah, a lot of people were touching on that, weren't they? Where he was kind of getting frustrated. And he did show, I feel like, a little bit of frustration with Jey Uso in particular as well. So I think they're sowing the seeds there, but I don't think it's happening anytime soon. He's too much of a moneymaker. And the flexibility you have in turning Cena heel comes from the flexibility you have with the roster you've already got in place. So we're talking big stars like Cody Rhodes. We're even talking big fan favorites like LA Knight that can carry that kind of babyface side of things and not need to sell your John Cena merch as much, even though I'm sure they're selling plenty, because you've got those guys. Jey Uso, I mean, we talk about selling T-shirts, right? So, I do think it will come, Casper, but not anytime soon. Now to Josh, he says, it's so long break for Roman. Love to see Roman versus Cena one last time. Will it happen? That's a good call, actually. I haven't really thought about them going one-on-one. It could be possible. Could he show up tonight? I mean, he's got a bit of a big fight feel about this, right? So he could be showing up tonight. A lot of people were talking about this last night as well when we were covering SmackDown and, again, doing our kickoff show for the weekend. I'd like to see it. It would be good to see the Tribal Chief coming back sometime soon. Right, let's move into the next match there. We talked a little bit about King of the Ring already, but just to throw out the bracket, just so you know how we got here. Again, Sami Zayn loses in the semi-finals, and Jey Uso does as well. A really hard-fought match again between Cody and Jey, and Sami Zayn and Orton as well. I mean, I really did think that that Sami was going to make it to the final and win in Saudi Arabia. But you may have seen in last night's stream that Lucas was saying his great idea, which I think is fantastic, is that Sami does go on this run where he's kind of losing, and then he wins the Royal Rumble in, you guessed it, Saudi Arabia, because of course he has a great connection with the fans out there in Saudi Arabia, speaks Arabic, and that really kind of gets him on side as well. And I think he's just been really kind of a great addition to these shows in recent years since he started showing up. And as much as there are a million things we can go into about these shows in the first place and the Royal Rumble taking place there, if we're taking it for what it is and trying to get the best out of the scenario, I think Sami Zayn winning there will be a massive, massive moment and a great pop and would make it feel special. And then goes to WrestleMania and wins the title, I think would be absolutely beautiful. And maybe what we saw with him winning the IC title the other year, where he pretended it was the biggest achievement of all time, even though he'd won it a few times. Don't get me wrong, happy with the way the match went down. The Gunther match was great and all that, but come on, that night should have been where Sami Zayn was winning the world title, in my opinion, and they pretended the IC was the same thing, and that frustrated me. But let's move into the positives, and let's move into another match that I think is going to be quite an interesting one to break down, because again, as you can see from the graphic here, it is a street fight. Raquel Rodriguez taking on Rhea Ripley, and while it is another frustratingly non-title match at Night of Champions, it is a match I'm looking forward to. It breathes fresh air into both characters, I think, yet they are aligned at the same time. They are still around this Judgment Day situation. Liv Morgan is around on the outskirts, of course, sadly injured at the moment, but it's not the same old match. It is a little bit different. It does freshen it up, and I think they're two girls that will work well together. Looking forward to seeing the as far as the street fight goes, and this is just a match that I think will be a quite a kind of, I guess, maybe possibly a surprising one as far as, the spots and things like that. So again, wish it wasn't on this PLE, because I want more championship matches at Night of Champions, but I have to give credit where it's due. I think Rhea is such a big star, deserves to be on pretty much every PLE if you put it down to that, and Raquel's done well to kind of get herself in this position as well. At the moment on the countdown show, who have we got? We got a little bit of they're on the panel at the moment. Okay, Michael Cole's just chatting. Nothing big going on. They were just laughing, just trying to keep up to date. Casper says, didn't want NXT and SmackDown spoilers on the show last night, but my charger's playing up on my device keeps charged. Netflix went with both, but a bit surprised they updated the weekly shows. I mean, Netflix was having a bit of a nightmare last night, wasn't it? It was a huge power outage. I think it was about 25 minutes that they didn't actually have anything on the feed. I've now seen the promo between Cody and Randy Orton, as much of it as I guess they salvaged, and it's all kind of footage that they wouldn't have used, essentially, kind of is cameras that don't think they're live, so they're just moving over, getting around the turnbuckle and stuff like that. Credit where it's due, they salvaged what they could. But again, I was really surprised they didn't do that yesterday. But that kind of makes sense now. If they had to edit something together, I thought that they'd have the feed. It just wouldn't have gone out live. Turns out they didn't even get the recording from the cameras, the main cams they would have been using. So something major happened there with this power outage. They came back on air. They went late. This is the good thing about Netflix, though. If you talk about that being the bad, the good will be that they can go late if they want to. And by the time it was on the USA Network, I assume they just basically edited it down because, of course, it wasn't live in the States. It went on what would have been 1 a.m. for us. So that was, about a good 7 hours or something like that after the show. I think the show started at 5 or 6. Yeah, so a good 6 or 7 hours after the power cut actually happened. But yeah, SmackDown was a good show, guys. What did you think of it? Let me know in the comments what you thought of SmackDown as a go-home show. Did you enjoy it? And what do you think is going to happen at Night of Champions? I want you to have your say, and we'll get into discussion further, I'm sure, with some of these great topics that continue to come up on these streams. We really do appreciate you. And keep them coming, guys. Let's move back to the card, though. Again, Raquel Rodriguez versus Rhea Ripley. Is this a match you're looking forward to? Is it a match that should be on this card? Or do you get in where you're fitting, sort of thing, as they say? At least we're getting 6 matches, right? How long's the show going to be, by the way, if we're getting 6 matches? And what would you have done before we get into CM Punk versus John Cena? What would you have done? Would you have called this Night of Champions? If this wasn't the card they were going to do, should it just been called King and Queen of the Ring again? Because I just prefer King and Queen of the Ring to be a one-night thing. Or if you're going to have, in the weeks, they should be qualifiers. And then the main end of the tournament, at least the semis onwards, on King and Queen of the Ring. And then have Night of Champions as just championship matches. I really don't know why. Because last year they didn't do Night of Champions. They did King and Queen of the Ring instead. The year before that, or was it that year? Yeah, the year before when they did Night of Champions, they were going to have it as King and Queen of the Ring, and they changed their mind. So it really is kind of all over the place. So yeah, what are your thoughts on the kind of show changes the past few years and kind of what has become of Night of Champions, essentially not being a Night of Champions, which is a bit weird to say, isn't it? Now too, Josh, he says, I hate Netflix. They don't have old episodes of Raw and SmackDown. Does your Netflix have old episodes? No, it doesn't. That is the one frustrating thing about Netflix, is that when the network went, we were going to lose a lot. And I know it, and they stagger putting things back on because they don't have to anymore. They're the product to sell themselves before. The deal's been done with WWE and Netflix. They can upload at a pace that kind of suits them. Whereas when it was WWE Network, they were trying to get subscribers, so they were constantly adding new programming. New original programming, which was fantastic, and that veered off towards the end anyway, especially when the Peacock deal got done in the States, and internationally, those left with the network just kind of had historical stuff, really, and kind of PLEs. Now they really don't have much on what is now the new version of the network, I guess, on Netflix, which is really a shame. And I had the feeling that would be the case, I got to say. I like Netflix. I like how accessible it is for people. I like that it's a great deal for WWE. It reaches new homes and kind of territories in maybe easier ways. But yeah, really a frustrating thing that they haven't added those historical shows, because especially when they were there already, people had access to those shows. It's not like people were relying on DVDs and tapes as much as they used to. They were there, legally obtainable on a subscription service that people were paying for. And now they've taken it away from people. It is quite frustrating. So hopefully they come back, but it's a bit slow, isn't it? Casper says, the only thing I saw on SmackDown on YouTube was CM Punk and seeing the segment Punk Life, but we'll catch up with the weekly shows. Yeah, make sure you do, mate. It was a good SmackDown, but I mean, you're going to get some spoilers as you watch Night of Champions. That's the only thing. But if you do want to kind of watch just to see what you missed, I would kind of recommend it. It was a good show. Maybe skip through some of the highlights or something like that. But yeah, Punk Life. I mean, how funny was that? Really didn't expect to ever see John Cena. I should say CM Punk coming out as John Cena, and the original, I say early days John Cena release, the Doctor of Thugonomics. He did a rap. I did watch it again earlier today on YouTube, and I felt like they had edited, and I couldn't figure out what line they had skipped. But I remember there was a line where he fumbled a little bit, and this isn't me kind of dissing Punk or anything like that. I don't want to have him kind of freestyle on me now. But I did feel like they edited it and took it out. And I'm not sure if that was a right thing to do, because why would you not want it polished? But at the same time, it aired live, so it's a bit frustrating in that sense. But I didn't even remember what line it was, to be fair. And I think Punk did great. I thought it was really entertaining. Clever as well. Like, he come out in his own Cubs jersey with Punk on the back, number 13. He had a Chicago Bulls hat, so it was still in keeping with his own kind of character and who CM Punk is. But yeah, it was still quite a surprise and quite out of Punk's comfort zone, I would imagine. You know, he was rapping out there. Like, he does great at memorizing and coming up with things off the cuff when it comes to his promos, but there were specific notes he had to hit. No pun intended as far as music goes, but I mean notes as far as like hitting the kind of the pacing of it, but also the rhyming, right? You couldn't forget certain structural parts of that promo. So I think he did very, very well. Be interested to know if he did miss out any lines or anything like that, but I think he come across well and it was very entertaining. Also entertaining in it was John Cena's reaction. I mean, he seemed so confused and dumbfounded by it. I love the fact that they played into, well, last week he did the pipe bomb. So this week on the anniversary of the pipe bomb, Punk is going to do something back. So yeah, really, really enjoyed what we saw from CM Punk and John Cena on SmackDown. Keep your comments coming, guys. Loving the chat so far. Neha too, Joshi says, Punk looking so odd in those shorts. He was looking older than Cena. I think you're kind of right there. I think it's the grey beard, isn't it? But yeah, still quite a surreal moment. You know the deal's back in the house as breaking news, apparently. Dominic Mysterio's injury is legit and suffers from a broken heart from Liv being injured and needing surgery. Good to see you in the chat. You know the deal. Always good to have you with us, mate. Yeah, I'm sure he is broken-hearted. I'm broken-hearted about Liv being injured, man. I think she was on a roll, you know, and she was about to have this feud with Nikki Bella, maybe a tag team match or something like that at Evolution. And it's been taken away from her, taken away from us as fans. So, yeah, really, really disappointed to see Liv Morgan. We were talking last night on the weekend kickoff show just about how many people are injured at the moment. It really is a shame. So, yeah, wishing her the best and wishing Dom best with his broken heart as well. El Juggalo is in the house as well. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're looking forward to Night of Champions. What we do here on the build-up show is get people like El Juggalo, myself, and all the other great people in the chat hyped up and ready for the big PLE. If you're lurking in the background, hey, we love having you here too as well, but we'd appreciate if you dropped a chat, something in the chat, or at least subscribe, press like, let YouTube know you like this sort of thing, and hopefully it will push it to more people. We recently hit 1,000 subscribers, so we're so thrilled to be able to kind of say that now, and we're looking forward to continuing to grow on this channel. Again, on the night of the PLE, what we do is we have these build-up shows where we take you right up to the PLE starting pretty much, and we talk last minute rumors, we break down the card, and we hear what you guys have to think about the build towards the PLE. On the weekend of the PLE, we'll cover the kickoff show usually. Didn't get to do it this time round. We haven't done too much content this time round, actually. Lately, I should say, because of scheduling issues. But we're back now in a big way with this build-up show for Night of Champions. But we usually do, as I say, previews, predictions, and stuff like that. And we're also going to hit you with an instant reaction review. So later on, as soon as Night of Champions finishes, guys, come back here and I'm going to let you know what I thought of the show. How about that? Tune in, subscribe, don't miss a thing. Let's get back to some more of these comments here as well. A few comments here about Netflix. We got Casper saying, I love Netflix, but missing some weekly shows is fine to get. It's fine. It's difficult to get into old stuff when I love the current product. Yeah, the current product is great. I always enjoyed watching the old stuff, but I always find it hard to kind of keep it in order. So I just kind of watch random clips here and there, but tell myself, no, I want to watch it all in order. I know Tom, friend of the channel, has been doing that with the Attitude Era. So yeah, I'm sure he's been having a good time reliving those moments as well. And this conversation has come up because Kazo G asks, can I watch the live event on Netflix? And as El Juggalo says, it is available internationally on Netflix. So if you have got Netflix, fire it up. The Night of Champions event itself will be starting in about 51 minutes to be precise. At the moment, though, they've got the countdown show. We're seeing lovely aerial shots of Riyadh and the card being lined up on the left-hand side with a graphic there as well. And again, we've been breaking through the card ourselves. Now they're playing at fantastic yin yang video that they've been showing of CM Punk and John Cena and their great storied history, and of course how they've switched paths essentially. So I've really enjoyed this. WWE is so good when it comes to this sort of production. So yeah, really pleased to get a great promo video. And this came before the second pipe bomb, the one from Cena, and also CM Punk. So it doesn't even include CM Punk's rap there or anything like that. So yeah, pretty cool. Just shows you that this has been a great build feud in recent weeks for how long they've had to tell the story. I think they've done really well picking up on stuff from the past. El Juggalo says, anyways, your thoughts on Juggalo Championship Wrestling? Mate, I haven't seen anything from JCW in a long time. I used to enjoy some of the wild stuff they used to do, especially when they brought in guys like Scott Hall. They used to bring in a lot of people that were like outside of WWE, you know, on like the independent scene, but just gave them like a really fun show. I remember a lot of wrestlers seemed to really enjoy it. Colt Cabana used to do loads of them, didn't he? So yeah, I haven't seen too much of JCW in the past few years, but yeah, hope things are going well there. Undertaker versus Kane, who scared you the most growing up? This is what I love about these streams. Random little topics like this coming up as well. Who scared me the most growing up? Undertaker or Kane? I've got to say Undertaker, because they were both scary in their own right, but they were both cool. I was getting into wrestling in my kind of, I guess, 10, 11 sort of thing. And Undertaker and Kane at that point, especially when you had Undertaker as the Phenom, like we're talking Ministry of Darkness. Remember that really spooky intro he had to his Ministry of Darkness theme, which, by the way, is an underrated banger of a theme song. But that spooky bit in the beginning where he's reading like some scary tech, nah, mate, scary. Imagine that if it's pitch black and that just starts playing full blast and you're not a wrestling fan or something, you'd be like, what the heck is this? But yeah, great theme song. So I'd say Undertaker slightly edges it for me, but what a great character Kane was. El Juggalo says they've been doing weekly shows on YouTube called JCW Lunacy. Oh, okay, I didn't know that, mate. Thanks for telling us. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been down with the clown. Yeah, thanks for that. You know the deal says, Mr. Good Old Days of pre-show matches. What was the last pre-show match on the pay-per-view? Oh, my goodness. Now you're going to get me racking my brains. I feel like this has been a topic we definitely spoke about a lack of pre-show matches. Of course, we always bring it up. And sorry if people were bored of that, but we're passionate about a pre-show match. It's just great. Like, it helps you build. Like, the Countdown's a good show, but, like, be better if there were matches on, especially for the international shows. And I know they started phasing them out a few years ago, but I remember one particularly because I was there when we were covering Clash at the Castle in Cardiff for Rebellious Noise. They did a tag match. I remember Street Profits were in it, and that was really fun. Just something that they didn't announce, and here it is. We got a pre-show match, but yeah, not seen them in a while. Does anyone else remember what the last one was? Let us know in the comments. Casper says, I love the current project. We enjoyed the AAA and Money in the Bank. Oh, yeah, Iguana was great. A bit surprised Naomi won the briefcase. Look, again, I'm so gutted we didn't manage to cover Money in the Bank because we haven't even spoke about any of that. But the AAA stuff, I think, has been great. Really enjoyed what you saw at Worlds Collide. I really enjoyed that show. Mr. Iguana has been fantastic. Really over with the fans. And I was really happy that Naomi won the briefcase. Not so much that Seth Rollins won the briefcase, but there's a lot to talk about with Seth and his stable, so we'll kind of park that one there, because I know there's a different story to tell than the first time he had it, but you know me, I'm always a fan of someone winning something for the first time. Again, opposite side of that, very happy to see Naomi with a briefcase, and well, could she be cashing in soon? She nearly did last night. I know you haven't seen it yet, Casper. I'll try not to spoil too much for you, but yeah, Naomi was a good surprise, in my opinion, as far as being with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Let's get to what is surely the main event. I think it's actually been announced as the main event as well, if I'm not mistaken. CM Punk taking on John Cena. Look at them there. They look a little bit more like their usual selves, right? Punk not in the Thugonomics gear. Now, this is a match that I'm kind of toing and throwing on. I said it on the weekend kickoff that I did with Lucas last night, that I can see CM Punk winning in some kind of scenarios, but if I go with my head, it's going to be John Cena, because why would it not be John Cena? I mean, let me reframe that. Why would it be CM Punk now? I think CM Punk will win a world title in WWE again. I think he should, and I think it's the other one that he should win, because it should put kind of credit on that. What is kind of a new title, but not, because they've kind of confused us all with the lineage and the name, the design. But anyway, I think if you still consider it a new title, give it to Punk. Let Punk make that one a little bit more credible. Not that it's not credible now, but that's what I would like to see. Depends where the storyline goes, though, because even if he doesn't win the WWE title today, he could still be winning the WWE title in the future. So for me, when it comes to this match, could he win tonight? I mean, he could. I just don't think he will. And I think there will be some sort of shenanigans here and some sort of progression in what's going on with Cena's kind of story as well. Because, again, we're running out of dates here, guys. As much as I'm enjoying what we're seeing with CM Punk, with Randy Orton, and with Cody Rhodes when we saw it, I don't want him to go back to the well too many times with the same guys. Like, we've had a bit of a greatest hits period in John Cena at the moment. You know, maybe our truth, Ron Killings, he should win the title. I don't think he will. I'd prefer to see that, if I'm honest, than Cody winning it back off of him. Cody will win the title again, I'm sure, but I don't want it to be at SummerSlam. I don't want him to be winning the King of the Ring and then facing John Cena, because it just feels like we had a whole tournament for nothing, really. But then you could argue he clawed his way back and deserves it and whatever else. So, I don't know. It depends what kind of story you want to tell there and how kind of tied up on that you are. Casper says, love it more that Becky Lynch is back and the Intercontinental Champion now, but disappointing that Becky versus Bayley ain't on Night of Champions. Yeah, that's a story that they were building into and didn't become, I mean, again, a title, man, a title match that could be done there. Look, I know some people aren't going to be pleased with Becky taking it off of Lyra, but I was saying all along since this feud started, or even before when it was kind of clear that she'd probably turn on her, that Becky should, again, just like I said with CM Punk with a world title, the IC title in the women's division, I think, is getting more credit because someone like Becky Lynch has it on her CV. So I think it's a good thing for that division. Now to Joshy, he says, LA Knight should have won the briefcase, but it was again screwed. He's now 43. It's now or never for him. This is a conversation that comes up a lot, doesn't it, about LA Knight's age? But a lot of people were saying when he got massively popular about a year or two ago that it's all right. It's all right. There's still some time. But as you say, time is ticking. And we said earlier on, Asuka, same age, 43. And the argument is she shouldn't win the Queen of the Ring because there's someone new in town and Asuka's got this massive CV. The thing about LA Knight is he doesn't have those accomplishments in the WWE. Yes, he's won the US title, but I actually, in the match, I did start to think he could do it. And then he was like massively used and in popular kind of segments in and around Money in the Bank as well, building towards the PLE itself, and then afterwards going to King of the Ring tournament. Now he's kind of been lumped in with a Seth Rollins storyline, but I'd have preferred to see him go up against maybe John Cena or something like that. I mean, that'd be a cool story to tell. So yeah, him winning the King of the Ring for me would have been good. Even if he didn't win the Money in the Bank, I thought, maybe King of the Ring. So I really don't know what they're doing there. Now to Josh, he says, Cody just sucks for me. Is just 2015 Stardust for me in 2020. I got to disagree. Look, as much as I don't want to see Cody winning the title back, I am a Cody fan. I don't want him to win it back just yet against Cena at SummerSlam. It's a bit too kind of tied up in an obvious bow for me. Hey, and I love Stardust. I got to be honest. I was a Stardust fan, and it annoys me that Cody doesn't like Stardust because he should give himself credit. It was great. Did it go too long? No. Did he need to get away from Stardust? Of course he did at some point. And maybe pigeonholed him and kind of held him back at the time. But for me, I enjoyed Stardust. And I enjoyed Cody Rhodes. But let's get back to the main event here, guys. CM Punk, John Cena. Who do you think is coming out of this as the champion? As we say, there's not a lot of title matches. 2 title matches, 1 King of the Ring final, 1 Queen of the Ring final. So they've got to make them count. And I think this could be a huge one. Will we see a title change? Will CM Punk win here in Rio? I don't think he will. I'd be pleasantly surprised if he did. I'm looking forward to the instant reaction review because I think there'll be a story to talk about anyway. But in my heart of hearts, nah. It's not happening. I guess my heart wants it to happen. My head just going, nah, it's not happening. Because I think they'll do the obvious thing. I really do. I think it's going to be Cody winning the King of the Ring. And I think it's Cena winning tonight. Or losing by a DQ is who was it? Was it Aiden said it in the chat earlier on? Let's see where it was. Let me go back to that. Aiden in the house earlier on says, yeah, CM Punk to win by DQ, and then thinks that will lead towards what was it? Here we go. CM Punk winning by DQ. So Cena loses, and then Cena losing to Cody again. Possibly the obvious story to tell there at SummerSlam. And then Punk maybe winning at WrestleMania. So again, does Punk win tonight? Does he win at WrestleMania? Does he win somewhere between? I do think that CM Punk's going to win the title at some point. But just like we say with LA Knight, I mentioned it last night on the weekend kickoff. CM Punk has had a few injuries in the past few years that remind us that things aren't guaranteed. You know, it looked like he would have gone into that first WrestleMania when he came back against Seth Rollins for the world title. Maybe would have won the title by now, and he didn't do that. So, you know, things change, but at the same time, I feel like he needs to tick that off. Look, he doesn't need to be champion. Don't get me wrong. He doesn't. But I think it'd be more beneficial if he won the World Heavyweight Championship. Saturday night's main event, Bronson Reed joined Seth Rollins' faction. But as we said, a story to be told there, joining Braun Breaker, there we go, and Seth Rollins and Heyman. It was great. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the stable. I need something new to happen, though. I need something to happen quickly as well, because it is getting a little bit stale. But I'm a fan of the potential that stable has. Neher to Josh, he says, I want Punk to win, but we all know John Cena will win ultimately. And ultimately turn face before retiring. Yeah, so this is the thing for me. I was saying at WrestleMania, I don't think Cena should win. I think he should lose and then win eventually, break the record as a babyface. And I kind of still stick by that. As much as I've enjoyed the heel stuff, I don't think he's needed the title, but him holding the title hostage has added a layer to that storyline, you could say. So I do appreciate that side of it. But for me, he shouldn't have won it, and he should have seen the error of his ways, and he should have turned babyface and won it as babyface and said, I needed to be me all along and whatever else. So while I'm enjoying this story now, I do think it's been a bumpy road, and he'll turn face before he retires. He's not retiring as a heel. If he does, I'd be massively shocked. So yeah, I think he will retire as a babyface. But again, time's running out. Like, when's it going to be that he turns? I say she because I got distracted by Zelina and Doudrop as she was at the time on. I think it's Queen of the Ring from a few years back. Yeah, Crown Jewel. But I think it's the Queen of the Ring match that is it the tournament Zelina won? Anyway. Getting distracted here. Nothing too interesting going on the countdown, just replays from previous years. But where were we? CM Punk, John Cena. Cena retiring. Yeah, I think he'll retire as a babyface. But again, we're running out of time. So maybe they've got to go with the obvious in order to get the title off of Cena at SummerSlam. Because he won't turn heel a babyface as the champ, right? He would have lost it. Surely. But there you go. It was the Queen of the Ring match we were watching there on the Countdown show. Highlights there of Zelina winning it. You know, we had the comment earlier about her not being used that well with a crown. But yeah, with a title run, I should say. But here she is winning the Queen's crown, of course, as they called it in 2021, not Queen of the Ring for some strange reason. So yeah, that was good. And now she's won the US Gold as well. I think she's had a decent little showing as of late. Right. Let's get back to some of these comments here. Thought Seth Rollins was the favourite going into Money in the Bank out of who was in the match. I was kind of all over the place, really. I really didn't know. I was just hoping it wouldn't be Seth Rollins. I was really, really disappointed when he won. And again, that's not saying I'm not a fan of Seth's work or the stable. I just felt like there was better stories to tell. Now to Josh, he says, will we see The Rock versus Cena, or at least Rock versus Roman at next year's Mania? I don't know, man. Like, I thought this past year's Mania would see The Rock come back and have a match. So talking about, fine margins and narrowing windows, it's getting tough. The Rock got pretty badly injured the last time he wrestled. So we'll have to see. Hopefully, I'd like to say yeah. I'd like to say yeah, surely. But I honestly thought that this past year, and there are so many examples now of Rock not doing WrestleMania now. And discussions falling through and decisions kind of getting changed kind of late in the day, essentially. So it's hard to predict. Neher to Josh, he also says, post 2020, I just get an odd feeling that time is flying. So you so fast, you also feel the same. Yeah, I agree. I mean, even that 2020, we all know what happened back then. It did, I think, wake a lot of people up as far as, just, I guess, appreciating life in a different way and kind of things that aren't guaranteed and promised, not to get too deep with it. But yeah, I think since then, to even think that was 5 years ago, the world changed 5 years ago in a massive way. And again, I think it is that reminder really that there's like a line in the sand really of the way you think about time. I think the older you get, you start to look at time differently, and nostalgia is a very powerful drug. But then when you get to monumental moments in history, it kind of does remind you even more so. So yeah, I agree. I think it's making a lot of people realize, man, there's not a lot of time for some of these guys in the ring, and not everything is promised, So hopefully we do see some of these big moments tied up before a lot of these guys hang up their boots. Casper says, I know it's controversial, but I'm getting used to Becky Lynch stuff. See Becky, Becky, and Lyra in a triple threat at some point. Yeah, it definitely seems like it will go that way, because Bayley and Lyra had a little bit of a kind of frustrating moment between each other recently, didn't they? When Bayley was basically cost the title, wasn't it? It was a title match, wasn't it? So she was quite frustrated at that. She was apparently wearing her WrestleMania ring gear as well, which is just kind of heartbreaking to hear, really, that she got taken out of that match. I think the storyline that they told instead was good, and I'm glad they did that story. But yeah, always nice to have people get their WrestleMania moment. So it was sad that she didn't get it this year. At the moment, we're getting a King of the Ring promo package on the count now, where Wade Barrett, of course, former King himself, explaining the history of the competition and the history of this year's competition as well, and how we got to the final. Again, if you're just joining us, Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton is the final. A match that I think is noteworthy and is kind of important and worthy of a final. But again, as we said earlier on, a match that I think could have been better booked, as far as not just happen to meet each other, but instead a surprise, because Randy's turned on Cody, and sadly we're not going to get that, which again just makes me feel like it is going to be Cody winning it and Cody going to SummerSlam to face John Cena and probably winning it back, and it just feels a bit too obvious. But hey, maybe not. This is the year when WWE have given us CM Punk dressing as John Cena, and maybe a bigger surprise, John Cena turning heel. So anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation, as JR used to say. Now, too, Josh, he says, thanks, bro, for reading our comments. No problem, mate. Yeah, thanks for sending them in. Really enjoying the conversation we're having here. Again, the not off-topic stuff is always funny, and the last-minute rumors are always great, and the kind of recapping of the last few weeks is what we're all about here with the build-up show. It's all about getting us hyped up and in the mood, and these build-up shows do go all over the place usually. We do have kind of fun conversations with it, maybe a few beers and stuff like that as well. Not today, I'm trying to be good today, just on the old water today, because this is a solo stream, as you can see, not Sokoa, but just me. Earlier on, you saw the replay, myself and Lucas, but sadly, no special guests today. Hope you've enjoyed the solo show. At least I've enjoyed having you with me. It's not quite me on my own, of course, when I got you guys to keep me company, but yeah, usually we have our other members of the Rebellious Noise team or friends from the wrestling media world, but sadly a lot of clashing schedules at the moment. This is the thing about these shows in Saudi Arabia, it's not at a normal time, and as much as I prefer watching shows at a reasonable time and not 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. or anything like that, it does mean that it does shake up the kind of content and the schedule as far as that goes as well. But yeah, thank you so much for sticking with us, guys, and for your comments as well. Casper says, I was gutted, but expected to see Jey Uso losing the World Heavyweight Championship. But yeah, did see it coming again. I feel so bad. There's so many things that have happened lately we haven't even spoken about because we didn't manage to do as many streams. Talk about schedules not being great. But again, guys, we're going to try and do our most best for not only Night of Champions, but of course for Evolution coming up and Saturday night's main event. And then SummerSlam, we're going to try and go big for as well. But a great point there. Yeah, Jey Uso losing the World Heavyweight Championship. I know some people were disappointed by that. I'm okay with it. I think Jay's title run was perfect. Like, he looked good. He looked like a credible champion. Sold a lot of merch. Did a lot of eating. And, yeah, it was just enjoyable. Something that the man deserved. I think he really did deserve to get that championship. I know Rikishi was disappointed at him losing it. But Rikishi seems to be disappointing in a lot of things. If a Bloodline member loses a match, it seems to be a problem. So, yeah, for me, come on, let's be realistic. He was not going to have the title for a year, and he shouldn't either. As much as I like Jey Uso, he's a certain type of champion for a certain type of storyline at a certain point in time. And I think that's exactly what we got. I think it was brilliantly booked. So, yeah, happy with that. And now we're taking it back to Gunther to see what happens with the Goldberg situation. And again, we'll touch on that more when it comes to Saturday night's main event. Kim is back in the house. Thank you so much for joining us again, Kim. I know you were with us on the weekend preview last night, and you want Roman Reigns, but you also want Brock Lesnar. I don't think that second name will be coming back anytime soon. But again, we talked earlier on about Roman Reigns possibly coming back here at Night of Champions in Riyadh. Could happen. It could be what leads towards a SummerSlam match, right? Because he's got to come back soon to start building towards that. As Lucas was saying last night, you kind of want to sell the tickets by telling people he's there, right? And it's a 2-night show. There's a lot of tickets to sell, and it's going to be the first 2-night SummerSlam. So, of course, plenty of 2-night WrestleManias in our books now since 2020. We've had quite a few of them now. But first ever 2-night SummerSlam. And, it's coming from MetLife Stadium out there in the kind of New York, New Jersey area. It's going to be a big, big weekend for WWE. So you've got to imagine they're going to have all their stars back. Zilla Fatu is another name that Kim wants to see as well. We talked earlier on about potential new members of the Bloodline because, of course, we've got Jacob Fatu facing off against Solo Sikoa. Now, Solo Sikoa built a bit of a 2.0 Bloodline, but they've fallen to injury lately, and they've started to fracture as well. They lost the Wise Man. Jimmy stayed away as well. They nearly warned him back in the other day. Didn't happen because Jimmy said he didn't want it. Big old slap to his little brother. And Jacob Fatu, of course, broke away from the Bloodline at Money in the Bank as well after recently becoming much more powerful on his own as the US champion. So it looks like we're getting a little bit more of a Bloodline Civil War once again. Will we see Tangaloa return soon? Will we see Tamatonga return soon? Both apparently still injured. Tangaloa has been gone for longer and was rumoured to be coming back around summer anyway, so maybe bringing him back tonight is an option. Or do they bring in someone else? Like we saw in the comments there are plenty more where they came from as far as the bloodline or bloodline kind of adjacent family members as well. So, yeah. Keep your comments coming, guys. We're going to take you as close to the PLE as we possibly can. It is 28 minutes away. We are still seeing nothing but panel talk, essentially, on the Countdown show, which, again, is a real shame that they're not giving us a pre-show match. I think around now is when it would be kicking off if there was going to be a match. Doesn't seem to be the case. And, again, we had a comment earlier. Does anyone remember what the last pre-show match was? I feel like they gave us a surprising one not that long ago. But anyway, I've lost it. A few more comments here as well. Casper says, looking forward to Night of Champions with some of the matches. I do think Asuka will beat Jade, are you saying? Okay. Yeah, Asuka, I mean, it'd be a nice little thing for a CV, as I said earlier on, but I think surely it's about building that future, right? And it's that stepping stone for Jade Cargill. Or do they go back to the storyline that I mentioned earlier on, where it turns out that Bianca Belair was a naughty girl after all, and she was in on the injury that happened to Jade Cargill with a car crash or whatever it was. No, she was thrown on a car, wasn't she? Now to Josh, he says, Gunther blinking and looking away to avoid Goldberg's spit is hilarious. Yeah, in that promo segment, he's 58. In 2018, he said, we'll never wrestle again. But in 2025, here he is wrestling again. Look, I know a lot of people got things to say about Goldberg and not really fans of him. I think he's kind of like Jey Uso in the sense that he fits certain stories and certain parts of the show. And I think it's okay. I think he's a man that deserves his final match. And he deserves to have it in WWE, So I don't know if it will be his final match. I don't know what the result's going to be just yet, but as I mentioned earlier on, we'll cover that in a little bit more detail when we get to Saturday night's main event, because I've got a few theories and a few fun kind of stories that I think they could tell here as well. But yeah, I like his new T-shirt, by the way. Jey Uso must join the Bloodline. Are we talking 2.0 here, Kim? I mean, imagine that if Jey Uso, he'd have to turn heel to do that, or are they bringing back the old bloodline? In your kind of suggestion here, to help? Oh, okay, to help Jacob win the US champ. So you think keep kind of, if anything, really bringing Jacob into the OG bloodline, that would kind of be cool, right? But I don't know if they're going to do any kind of proper bloodline stories as far as the OG bloodline just yet. I mean, is it done? Well, probably not. Will it ever be done? Probably not. I think there'll always be some sort of a bloodline storyline in WWE going forward. But yeah, Jacob Fatu defending his US championship against Solo Sikoa. What do we think about that, guys? Do you think Solo has a chance of winning here? I think him losing is kind of risky, if I'm honest, because let's be honest, it's not worked out the way we thought with Solo. Jacob Fatu has become what people thought Solo was going to be. And that's not a dig against Solo, because I've actually really enjoyed what he's done lately. I think he was dealt a tough hand essentially when the bloodline broke up. An obvious one that he was kind of groomed for a long time, but sadly it just didn't seem to work out to the level that I think we expected. And then Jacob was the distraction. You know, everybody kept thinking about, oh, look at this shiny new toy over here. And I think WWE feel the same way about it. But I got to say, Solo was hilarious leading into Money in the Bank. I know that's not really the idea of his character. He's meant to just be a bad guy, but he's making me laugh. His promos are great. His facial expressions and just the stuff he does off the mic are fantastic as well. So yeah, for me, I think Solo deserves more. I don't think he'll be winning the US title tonight, but I do think a clean loss is a bit risky. So maybe there's a DQ because someone does get involved, but then he has to mess up his own title match. So it's hard to guess that one. I love Jacob Fatu saying, I hate you, Solo. Oh, no break, says Casper. Yeah, a spin on his old catchphrase of I love you, Solo. Near to Josh, he says, you heard one Redditor said on Reddit post that Ric Flair drinks so much beer in a restaurant he pooping his pants. And oh gosh, Flair's also one special character. Yeah, I don't know if that's true. Like to think it's not, but yeah. Want the best for Ric Flair either way. I'll leave it there. F Sweezy as well. My winners, good to see you again, buddy. It's been a while since we've seen you pop up. Good to have you here in the build-up show for Night of Champions. You say my winners are John Cena, Jay Cargill, but close. Cody Rhodes, Solo Sikoa, or Jacob Fatu. You split on that one, and Rhea Ripley. Some good predictions there. Look, I don't think they're bad predictions at all. Some of them are the same as mine. Some are different, but I'm quite split on some of them myself as well. So, you know, I'd say this is a very kind of 50-50 show. I think a lot of the matches could go either way. Like, I don't think there's any that I look at and go, oh, it's obvious. There's some I look at and go, I think WWE would probably want to do this more. But like, if CM Punk won, okay, cool, big story. If, you know, because I'm going for John Cena. If Jade Cargill didn't win, because I'm going for Jade and Asuka won, I'd go, Asuka deserves that. If Cody Rhodes won, I mean, that is what I'm going for. I'd say, okay, it's obvious. But if Randy Orton won, I'd say, oh, cool, new story to tell. I mean, he is a legend in his own right, winding down his own career, and it adds something to his own CV. So that wouldn't be as much of a shock either. Now, Solo Sikoa, I think, deserves to get something. So that wouldn't massively be a shock. But taking the title for Jacob would be the more shocking side of that story as well. And then go for Rhea Ripley. I've gone for Raquel simply because I think it will help her grow. And perception of her character will be kind of better, essentially, because Rhea doesn't need it. But although she doesn't need it, she wins a lot anyway. So, again, wouldn't be the most surprising thing there either. So, again, I think it's a fairly 50-50 kind of card to predict. Was coming Jacob Fatu, as in turning into a face. Yeah, had been coming. You're right. Fans were really getting behind him. Also, was Zayn winning by KO interfering. So, Sami Zayn winning the Karrion Kross match. See, for me, KO, I don't think is anywhere near coming back. I know some of it you never know. They could be just saying, it's storyline stuff. Is it as bad as they say? But I do think KO is out for a while, at the moment at least, and not coming back here. I actually think Karrion Kross is going to batter Sami Zayn, and I think he should. I love Sami Zayn, but as Lucas was saying on last night's stream when we did our weekend kickoff show, I think it'd be great if Sami Zayn had this story of trying to build himself back up before eventually winning the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia and then winning at WrestleMania, one of the world titles next year. Now, in order to tell that, do you have to make him lose matches and go to the bottom of the pile? Not necessarily, But I do think they do need to make Karrion Kross look strong. I think he's looked fantastic lately. They're finally starting to use him. But will he win tonight? It'll be interesting to see if this is all for nothing. And it will kind of feel like that if he just loses to Sami Zayn, in my opinion. So I think Karrion Kross, again, another one that could be 50-50. Sami Zayn certainly could win. I think Karrion Kross should win. I think he's got a great kind of gimmick at the moment. He's got a great story to tell, and bringing it to the forefront to the fans properly rather than just in kind of tweets and kind of random backstage bits here and there and on other shows. I think that's the right way to go, to make Karrion Kross look strong, because why would you not want to build another new star? So yeah, for me, Karrion Kross should be winning this one. Kim says Cody and Jade must be winning. Probably, yeah. I think I'm going with the same there. I think the two more obvious picks when it comes to the King and Queen of the Ring, and F. Sweezy is agreeing with me there as well. Also says, if KO returns, would he help Sammy or go against it? Man, talk about fight forever, right? These are two guys that will always be either tag team partners and best friends, or best of bitter enemies, really. Christopher Leclerc is back in the house. Good to see you again, buddy. I got Raquel Rodriguez winning, he says, because of Roxanne Perez. That's a great shout, actually, because, yeah, they were bringing Roxanne slowly into the Judgment Day fold, and now that Liv's out of it, ironically, they've just done a similar storyline already where she was kind of sneaking in with the chicken nuggets and chicken tendies for Dominic. I'm getting hungry now. I think that's what I'm going to eat, by the way, when we go off air. Distracted because I've just been reminded I've not asked anyone what their snacks are. What are your snacks, guys? What are your snacks for the build-up show? What are your snacks for the Night of Champions stream? And where are you watching around the world? Because I know this is going to be different for all of us, right? I'm usually watching a PLE at midnight, 1 a.m., and I'm eating the big old, what I call a wrestling feast. It's usually pizza, chicken, and chips, right? Chips is in what we call chips here in the UK, fries. That's what I'm having today as well, by the way, because it's at a reasonable time. It's actually dinner time for me. You know, it's 20 to 6 here in the UK. So I'm going to be chilling, watching the show with that. But what are you guys having? I'm sure some of you are going to be having breakfast. Some of you are going to be having late night feast. So let me know in the comments what your snack situation is for the PLE tonight. Again, this is the kind of thing we like to do on the build-up show. Getting hyped up in the mood, not just for the show, but for the snacks, the important stuff. Right, let's get back to the comments. The serious stuff. Christopher, apologies. Yeah, Roxanne Perez, great call. I do think she could actually get involved, especially now that it's a street fight, right? So, yeah, good call with that one there. You also say Sami Zayn has 3 wins and 10 losses in 2025. So it looks like they are possibly already telling that story of Sami having to kind of build his way back up after going all the way down to the bottom of the pile, essentially. Casper says it got me on SmackDown on how long CM Punk was laying down for. Yeah, John Cena pipe bomb and SmackDown after going through a table was ridiculous, wasn't it? They could have cut to a different angle, or because that's what. Okay, I think they wanted to play into the original one where Punk said, "I hope you're laying there uncomfortably," but he went up to the ramp, and most of the time you saw Punk. Even when you saw Cena, because he was on the turnbuckle, you saw Punk as well. It was the wrong camera shot, man. They shouldn't have showed it. It was awkward. The one negative in what was otherwise a really, really fun segment. Cross also needs to be pushed into the main event, says Nehatu Joshi. He has the looks and a unique promo skill as well. I agree. He's great on the mic. And I just hope it's not all smoke and mirrors and cryptic for the sake of it. I really do hope we're going to get more from Karrion Kross here as well. As you say, 20 minutes or a few minutes ago since you sent that comment, so apologies if I only just got to it. But yes, we are 7 minutes away now from Night of Champions. Oh, calling in from New Zealand. Fantastic. We're in New Zealand. My wife's dad is from New Zealand. So yeah, welcome in from New Zealand. What time is it there in New Zealand? What time is it in New Zealand? F Sweezy said, talking about the F Sweezy, there we go. It's 4:42 a.m. Oh, you are committed, mate. You are committed. Do you think these will lead to WrestleMania? Do you mean with Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross? I don't. I think Sami Zayn's going to go after the title at WrestleMania. It's got to happen, in my opinion. It's got to happen. But guys, keep your comments coming. Let me know what you think is going to happen tonight and Night of Champions, or today, wherever you are watching in the world. This morning, wherever it is, as it is for our friend over there in New Zealand. Christopher Leclerc says Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes will open Night of Champions, is apparently the story going around at the moment. And F. Sweezy says, in general, what are we talking about in general? What was that? That was about WrestleMania, wasn't it? What do I think is going to happen at WrestleMania? Yeah, I think it's so long away, but Cody's going to have a big match. Roman's going to have a big match. But I think it's Sami Zayn. I think Sami Zayn's year is about to happen. I flipping hope so, anyway. Keep your comments coming, guys. We are very, very close to Night of Champions. I want to know what you think is going to happen before we do wrap up. Been having some great conversations already tonight, guys. At the moment, we're watching the countdown as well. We're seeing Gunther raise his crown atop his head last year, of course, when he won the King of the Ring at this event, which was then called King and Queen of the Ring. For some strange reason, they're going back and forth on it. And this year have not even had as many championship matches as you would expect on a show called Night of Champions. But hey, I don't want to get into the negatives again. Let's enjoy the positives. Good thing is we've got 6 matches to be excited about tonight, and I think it's going to be a good show overall. Casper's just got done with a snack shop order earlier. You got Coke, chicken samosas, lollies, tortilla chips, liquid, all sorts, eggs as well. Mate, you always go big with the snacks, don't you? You don't just have 1 or 2 things, Casper. You go big. I appreciate it. F. Sweezy says the second match to open Night of Champions is apparently going to be the street fight between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez. Are we getting reports of this online, F. Sweezy? Is that what's going on? Oh, I've just seen as well. Yeah, I said earlier on they did edit the CM Punk promo and they added crowd noises as well, which, you know, it was a little bit awkward. Some of the things didn't quite hit, but it was still enjoyable. Okay, so yeah, this is apparently the order going around at the moment. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, F. Sweezy. Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton apparently going to open. Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez, as F. Sweezy rightly said there as well. Next up, apparently, will be the the Sami Zayn Karrion Kross match. Then the US title match in Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. Then the Queen of the Ring in Asuka and Jade Cargill, finishing off with John Cena putting WWE Championship on the line against his old foe in CM Punk. Christopher says Jade Cargill wins, faces Tiffany Stratton at SummerSlam, wins the women's WWE title, and then Naomi cashes in and beats Jade for the title. Oh, could you imagine? I like that. I still want Bianca Belair involved in this storyline with Jade Cargill, but I do like that, Christopher. S. Sweezy says US Championship match, Jacob Fatu versus Solo. Okay, yeah, for the order here. Queen of the Ring final, Asuka, Jade, and we got the main title at the end. Yeah, okay, the final matches, of course, on top of your original comments there. Bro, my brother is at the show. He's saying the crowd is chanting. I've seen the injury. Right, is your brother really at the show? Wow, that's incredible. Okay, really? Okay, people don't want Cena to win. People do not want Cena to win, apparently, out there in Saudi. Nice to get the inside scoop there. Thanks for that, mate. But once again, let's go through the card and the order that is apparently going out there at the moment. This is being reported online by places like WrestleOps, PW Insider as well. So should be quite legit. Of course, this can change as we get closer to the show and even throughout the show. We saw the spanner in the works that happened at the beginning of Netflix's production of SmackDown last night. But let's get into, again, that card once again, and we'll run through it this time with some of the graphics. So again, apparently the opener tonight is going to be the King of the Ring final between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. That is apparently opening the show tonight. Then next up is set to be the street fight. We're talking Rhea Ripley. We are talking Raquel Rodriguez. Should be a fun match there to kind of take us out of the King of the Ring. Then we get into what is, in my opinion, going to be a short match, surely. Karrion Kross destroying Sami Zayn as Lucas predicted. I'm really behind that idea now. I think it might actually happen that way, but we'll have to see. But that is apparently going to be the third match of tonight's show. The fourth match we are set to see, judging by this lineup at least, is the US title match on Night of Champions. Again, only 2 title matches to talk about, but an interesting one here between 2 members of the same family. Jacob Fatu, of course, defending against Solo Sikoa. That is your 4th match, if rumours are to be believed. Then we moved from the King of the Ring opening into the Queen of the Ring in the 5th match position. Asuka going up against Jade Cargill. Will it be the legendary future Hall of Famer Asuka winning the tournament, or will it be the up-and-comer in Jade Cargill? Will be interesting to see where they go with that one. Talk about legends. The next one to talk about, of course, is the main event. Closing the show is set to be CM Punk challenging John Cena for the WWE Undisputed Championship. And that is your card, everyone. That is the 6-match card that we're going to see at Night of Champions, which opens in just about 10 minutes time. The countdown is wrapping up now. We're going to start wrapping up soon as well. But thank you so much to everyone that's joined us on tonight's show and everyone that joined us for last night's kickoff as well. Really do appreciate everybody supporting us here. We're going to be back later on though. We're going to have an instant reaction review to Night of Champions, so make sure you tune in for that one. Again, thank you to everyone that tuned in for the weekend kickoff show. We had some great discussions there. If you want to see my actual reaction to CM Punk, you'll see my kind of instant reaction to that on the beginning of that stream as well. So go back and check that out as well. But again, later on, we're going to hit you with the instant reaction review. But you have been watching our build-up show here on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. So instant reaction review, for those who don't know already, please subscribe. You'll find it on this very channel as well. But you've been watching the build-up show. It's all about getting us hyped up. It's all about getting us in the mood for the PLE. And I hope it's worked for you here tonight. Get to some of these comments before we do get out of here as well. I'm getting quite hungry, guys. My belly is rumbling. I haven't really predicted a lot of the matches, says Casper at Night of Champions, but I'm just going to enjoy what I see. And on that, a decent time for a change. The heat is killing me at the moment in the UK. It is warm. It is warm. I agree with you. Cole is hit backstage. What do you mean, Cole? Not Adam Cole, right? We've got Scarlett in the chat as well. Who you got? Canelo and Crawford. Yeah, sorry, mate. I haven't really been keeping up, so I don't really know, to be honest. I'm more WWE these days than UFC. I'm not really kind of that familiar at the moment, I got to say. But I hope you enjoy it either way. Hope you all enjoy Night of Champions, guys. Again, we are 9 minutes away. S. Sweezy's got Canelo. There you go. I'll give you that prediction if I can't give you mine at least. And hopefully, again, going to be an enjoyable show. Like I said earlier on, though, we will be back for the instant reaction review. So the stream isn't live on the channel just yet, but you'll find it on the channel in the live section later on. So subscribe to make sure you get that. Of course, hit the bell notification, all that fun stuff as well, so you don't miss any of our uploads. If you're new here, essentially what we do is we get you hyped up and in the mood for PLE on the night of PLE with our build-up shows, but we also have bigger previews all over the week, essentially with our prediction shows, our weekend kickoff shows. We usually cover WWE's kickoff shows as well with watch-alongs, and we've got interviews with WWE superstars that we've managed to have conversations with in the past and as well on this very channel. So we've had the privilege of interviewing people like Finn Balor, Drew McIntyre, Rhea Ripley, Gunther. Who else have we had conversations with? Bianca Belair. So if you haven't already, subscribe and check out our deep archive of great WWE content anyway. Again, our weekend kickoff was last night, and we thank everyone that joined us for that. But want to say thank you especially to everyone now that's joined us here for tonight's build-up stream as well. Hopefully, it's got you hyped up and in the mood. Hopefully, you are ready for this evening's festivities. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, guys. Subscribe if you haven't already. Scarlett says not UFC, but excuse me, boxing. Sorry. Completely mixed up there. And what else have we got here? Enjoy the show, Scott. Good to be there in the house again. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, mate. And yeah, I'm glad we've managed to get a fun stream out here for this as well. Kim thinks The Rock might be showing up tonight. You never, ever know, do you? I mean, a place like Saudi Arabia, I mean, they got the money to cover it, right? So maybe we could see a big return from The Rock. It'd be about time, because we need to understand what the heck's going on with this John Cena heel turn when it comes to his alliance with the Great One and the final boss. But that's the final thing I've got to say, because we are now going to wrap up. And I want you all guys to enjoy Night of Champions. Enjoy your snacks, everybody. Enjoy the show. And I'll see you in a few hours' time when we break down all the big stories coming out of Night of Champions. Once again, this has been the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. I've been Scott. Thanks for watching.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.